I didn't plan to become the villain in my own marriage. That happened the night my wife looked me in the eye at a dinner party, smiled like she just won something, and said the words that changed everything. My ex is still in my life. Deal with it. She said it loud enough for the table to hear, loud enough for her friends to exchange those knowing looks, loud enough that I understood it wasn't a confession, it was a branding iron. My name is Andrew Brennan. I'm 34. I manage facility projects for a hospital expansion downtown, the kind of job where you know every vendor, every security protocol, every access code, and every corner of every building before the drywall goes up. It's not glamorous. It's the infrastructure nobody notices until it breaks. My wife's name is Jessica. She's a residency coordinator at the same hospital network, which is how we met 6 years ago. She's the kind of beautiful that opens doors before she knocks, the kind of smart that makes people feel lucky to agree with her, and the kind of cruel that only shows up when the doors are closed. But I'm getting ahead of myself. The dinner party was at Karen's house, Karen being Jessica's best friend, the kind of woman who laughs too loud and touches your arm when she talks. Karen's husband, Phil, spent most evenings looking like he'd rather be anywhere else, which made him the only person at the table I could relate to. We were celebrating something. I can't remember what. Jessica had a way of turning every gathering into a performance, and I'd learned to play my part. Supportive husband, quiet laugh, refill the wine, don't interrupt. The ex's name was Travis Cole. I'd heard it before, casually dropped into conversations like loose change. Travis and I used to, or Travis always said. The way she said his name had a weight to it, like she was tasting something expensive. He showed up halfway through dinner. Hope I'm not late, he said, all teeth and confidence, handing Karen a bottle of wine that probably cost more than my work boots. He was tall, fit in that annoying, effortless way, wearing a blazer that screamed, I sell things to people who don't need them. Jessica lit up. That's the only way to describe it. Her whole body shifted toward him like a plant toward sunlight. Travis, you made it. She hugged him. Not a polite hug. A full-body, linger-too-long hug that made Phil look down at his plate. I stayed seated. I watched. I made a mental note of the way her hand lingered on his arm, the way she angled her body away from me and toward him. Karen pulled out a chair for him, right next to Jessica, across from me. Andrew, you've met Travis, right? Karen asked, though she knew the answer. Once or twice, I said. Travis extended his hand across the table. Good to see you again, man. I shook it. His grip was firm, practiced, the kind of handshake that's meant to communicate dominance without saying a word. Travis runs a consulting firm, Jessica said, like I'd asked. He's doing incredible work with local campaigns. Political campaigns, Travis clarified. Strategy, messaging, donor relations. It's a wild time to be in the game. I nodded. I bet. The conversation shifted. Travis talked. Jessica listened like he was revealing the secrets of the universe. Karen laughed at every pause. Phil refilled his glass. I watched the way Travis's hand moved when he talked. Expressive, confident, always landing near Jessica's space. I watched the way she leaned in. I watched the way her friends didn't seem surprised by any of it. That's when I started counting, not out loud, not in any way anyone could see. I just started keeping a tally in my head. Times she touched him, times she said his name, times she looked at him instead of me. By the time dessert arrived, I'd lost count. Andrew's been so busy with the hospital expansion, Jessica said suddenly, pulling me into the conversation like she just remembered I existed. He barely has time to breathe. Sounds intense, Travis said, looking at me with what I can only describe as polite disinterest. It is, I said. But someone's got to make sure the building doesn't collapse. Travis laughed. That's why I could never do what you do, man. I need variety. I'd go crazy doing the same thing every day. Jessica smiled. Travis gets bored easily. There was something in the way she said it. Something private. Like an inside joke I wasn't part of. Karen poured more wine. Phil excused himself to check on something in the garage. I stayed in my seat, played my part, smiled when expected. Then, as the night wound down and people started standing, stretching, saying their goodbyes, Travis leaned back in his chair and said, Jess, we should grab coffee soon. Catch up properly. Jessica's eyes flicked to me for half a second. Not asking permission, measuring my reaction. I'd love that, she said. Great. Travis stood, stretched, checked his watch. One of those slim, expensive ones that cost more than my car payment. I should head out. Early morning tomorrow. He hugged Jessica again. This time I noticed the way his hand rested on her lower back, the way she didn't step away. Good seeing you, Andrew, he said as he passed me. You too. he left. The room felt smaller without him. Jessica started helping Karen clear the table. I stood, grabbed a few plates, followed them into the kitchen. "Travis is doing so well," Karen said, loading the dishwasher. "I'm so glad you two stayed close, Jess." "He's been a good friend," Jessica said, "especially lately." I set the plates down by the sink. "Lately," Jessica glanced at me. "He's going through some stuff. I've been there for him." "Going through stuff?" "Marital stuff," Karen said, lowering her voice like she was sharing classified information. "He and his wife are complicated." "He's married?" I asked. "Technically," Jessica said, "but it's not a real marriage. They're basically roommates." I almost laughed. Almost. Instead, I nodded. "Got it." We finished cleaning. We said goodbye to Karen and Phil. We drove home in silence. Jessica scrolled through her phone the entire ride, smiling at something I couldn't see. When we got home, she went straight to the bedroom. I stayed in the kitchen, poured myself a drink, and stared at the counter. That's when I started the list. Not on paper, not on my phone, just in my head. A running tally of things that didn't add up. The way she dressed for coffee with Travis. Heels, perfume, the good earrings. The way she mentioned his name at least twice a day. The way her friends smiled when he walked in, like they were watching a show. The way she checked her phone constantly, angling the screen away from me. I wasn't paranoid. I was observant. There's a difference. 3 weeks later, she said it. We were at another dinner party. This one at a restaurant downtown. Smaller group, same cast of characters. Travis showed up late as usual and slid into the seat next to Jessica. I'd stopped caring by then, or at least I'd stopped showing that I cared. The conversation turned to relationships. Someone made a joke about exes. Jessica laughed, took a sip of her wine, and looked directly at me. "My ex is still in my life," she said. "Deal with it." The table went quiet for half a second. Then Karen laughed. Then everyone else laughed. Like it was funny, like it was brave. Travis smiled, didn't say a word, didn't need to. I smiled too, raised my glass. "Cheers to that," I said. Jessica's smile widened. She thought she'd won. But here's the thing about infrastructure. You don't see the cracks until the weight shifts, and I was about to move every supporting beam she'd been standing on. That night, after everyone left, I checked the mileage on our car. Jessica had driven it 3 days earlier to run errands. 73 miles, round trip. Our grocery store was 4 miles away. The mall was 8. The farthest Target was 12. 73 miles put her in Lakewood. A small town with vacation cabins and weekend rentals. A town she'd never mentioned visiting. I checked our shared streaming account the next morning. Someone had watched a movie I'd never heard of at 11 at night on a Friday while I was home, alone, watching basketball in the living room. The viewing location said Lakewood. 2 days later, I saw Travis's car in the hospital parking garage. Level 3, near the back. I wouldn't have noticed, except I'd seen that same car in Jessica's phone background a week earlier, a photo she'd quickly swiped away when I walked into the room. I stood there for 5 minutes, watching the elevator doors. Then they opened, and Jessica stepped out. She wasn't alone. Travis was right behind her, laughing at something she'd said. They walked to his car together. She touched his arm. He opened the passenger door for her. She got in. I didn't move. I just stood there in the shadows between 2 concrete pillars, watching my wife climb into another man's car like it was the most natural thing in the world. They drove away. I walked to my truck, sat in the driver's seat, stared at nothing. Then I pulled out my phone and opened a new note file. I titled it Timeline, and I started writing. I didn't confront her. That would have been the old Andrew, the one who believed communication solved problems, who thought love meant giving people the benefit of the doubt. The new Andrew understood something simpler. People don't lie because they're confused. They lie because the truth is inconvenient. So I stopped asking questions. I started tracking patterns instead. It wasn't hard. Jessica was careful, but she wasn't that careful. She'd gotten comfortable. Comfortable people make mistakes. First, I pulled up our bank account. Joint account, both our names. But I'd been the one paying attention to it for years. Jessica treated money like it grew on trees. I treated it like evidence. 3 charges caught my eye. Evergreen Cabins, Lakewood, $287.50. 2 weeks ago, Saturday morning. Pinewood Grill, Lakewood, $94.30. Same day, evening. Summit Gas and Snacks, Route 16, $48. Sunday afternoon, halfway between Lakewood and home. I pulled up my own calendar. That weekend, Jessica had told me she was going to a team retreat for work. Mandatory, boring. She'd be back Sunday night. I called the hospital HR line Monday morning, pretending to need clarification on a policy. Casual, professional. Hey, quick question. Did the residency coordinators have a retreat 2 weekends ago? No retreat scheduled in October, the woman on the line said. Is there something specific you need? Nope, just checking. Thanks. I hung up. I stood in my office for a full minute, staring at nothing. Then I opened the note app on my phone and added to the timeline. October 14th. Lakewood. $287. Cabin that I'm October 14th. Told me work retreat. October 14th. Streaming activity. Lakewood, 11 at night. October 15th. Gas station, Route 16, 2:47 in the afternoon. I didn't add emotional commentary, didn't write she lied or I can't believe this. Just data, clean, neutral. The kind of thing that would hold up if anyone ever asked me how I knew. Because I was starting to realize something. This wasn't just about catching Jessica. Oh, it was about proving it in a way that couldn't be argued, explained away, or spun into me being paranoid or controlling. That afternoon, I ran into Tom Garrison in the hospital cafeteria. Tom was a facilities supervisor, older guy, been with the network for 20 years. He knew everyone, remembered everything, and didn't ask too many questions. Andrew, he said, waving me over to his table, how's the expansion coming? On schedule, I said, sitting down with my coffee. Barely. He laughed. That's the only way it ever is. We talked shop for a few minutes, vendor delays, permits, the usual chaos. Then, casually, I asked, You ever been up to Lakewood? I've been thinking about checking it out. Heard it's nice? Lakewood? Tom raised an eyebrow. Yeah, it's nice if you like quiet. Not much up there except cabins and hiking. Good fishing, though. My wife and I went last spring. Any good spots to stay? Evergreen cabins are solid. Clean, private, not too expensive. We saw a bunch of people from the hospital up there, actually. Guess it's a popular spot. I kept my face neutral. Yeah? Yeah. Saw that residency coordinator. Jessica, right? Your wife? My hand tightened around my coffee cup. When was that? Couple weeks ago. She was with some guy. I figured maybe a colleague or something. Probably, I said. Tom shrugged. Anyway, good place if you're looking for a weekend away. Tell Jess I said hi. Will do. I finished my coffee. Walked back to my office. Closed the door. Opened the note app. Tom Garrison saw Jessica in Lakewood, October 14th, with unidentified male companion. That evening I checked Jessica's Instagram. She didn't post much, but her stories were another matter. I scrolled back 2 weeks. There it was, a photo of a latte, artfully framed, captioned, much needed break. The location tag said Pinewood Grill, Lakewood. I took a screenshot, saved it to a folder on my phone labeled Work Files. On Friday night, Jessica came home late. She said she'd been at a happy hour with coworkers. I didn't argue. I just asked casually, How was it? Fine, she said, kicking off her heels. Karen was there. Travis stopped by for a bit. Travis? Yeah, he's friends with a couple people from the hospital. It's not weird, Andrew. I didn't say it was. She looked at me, eyes narrowing slightly. You're acting weird. I'm tired, I said. She shrugged, grabbed her phone, disappeared into the bedroom. I stayed on the couch, opened my note app, added another line. October 27th. Jessica claims happy hour. Travis present. Then I did something I hadn't done before. I checked the mileage on the car again. She'd driven it that afternoon. 42 miles, round trip. The hospital was 6 miles from our house. The bar where she claimed the happy hour happened was 4 miles. 42 miles was Lakewood again. Saturday morning, I woke up early. Jessica was still asleep. I walked into the kitchen, made coffee, and opened the junk drawer where we threw receipts, ticket stubs, random things we didn't feel like sorting. At the bottom, crumpled and barely visible, I found a paper wristband. The kind they give you at resorts or cabin check-ins for pool or amenity access. I smoothed it out. Evergreen cabins, guest pass, valid October 14th through 15th. I stood there, holding it, feeling my heartbeat in my throat. Then I took a photo, added it to the folder, crumpled it back up, put it exactly where I'd found it. Jessica walked into the kitchen 20 minutes later, yawning, wearing one of my old shirts. Morning, she said, pouring herself coffee. Morning. She smiled at me. The same smile she'd given me at the dinner party. The same smile she'd given Travis. What do you want to do today? She asked. I looked at her, really looked at her, and I realized something that made my chest feel hollow. I didn't recognize her anymore. Whatever you want, I said. She kissed my cheek. You're the best." Then she walked away, scrolling through her phone, humming softly, and I stood there, holding my coffee, already planning the next step. I started pulling away. Not dramatically. Not in a way she'd notice right away, just small things, little absences that added up. For 6 years, I'd been the foundation of our life together. I paid the bills on time, scheduled the oil changes, dealt with the insurance paperwork, fixed the things that broke, made the invisible machinery of daily life run smoothly so Jessica could focus on her career, her friends, her image. I made her life easy, and she'd gotten so used to it that she didn't even see it anymore, so I stopped. The internet bill came due. I didn't pay it. 3 days later, Jessica was trying to stream something and couldn't connect. "Andrew, is the internet down?" I looked up from my laptop. "Huh, maybe the bill didn't go through. Can you call them?" "You usually handle that." "I've been slammed at work. Do you mind taking care of it?" She looked annoyed, but nodded. "Fine." A week later, the car registration renewal showed up in the mail. I left it on the counter, didn't mention it. 2 days before the deadline, Jessica found it. "Did you see this?" "Oh, yeah, I've been meaning to get to it." "Andrew, it's due in 2 days." "Can you take care of it? I've got 3 site inspections tomorrow." She stared at me like I'd asked her to build a rocket. "I guess." "Thanks. You're a lifesaver." The grocery shopping I usually did stopped. She'd come home, open the fridge, find it empty. "Did you not go to the store?" "Forgot. Long day. Can you pick up a few things tomorrow?" The laundry I used to throw in without thinking about it, I left it piling up in the hamper. "Andrew, we don't have any clean towels." "Oh, I'll get to it this weekend. Can you do it tonight?" "I'm exhausted. You mind starting a load?" Each time she'd give me this look, confused, irritated, like I was breaking some unspoken rule. Each time I'd apologize, promise to do better, and then not do better. I was testing something, seeing how much of her comfortable life depended on me doing all the work she never acknowledged. Turns out it was a lot. But I wasn't just withdrawing my labor, I was also building walls she couldn't see yet. I started moving money. Not all of it. That would trigger alarms, just portions. Small redirects from my paycheck into my personal account, the one I'd had since before we were married. Then I opened a new savings account at a different bank entirely. No shared statements, no joint access. I transferred funds slowly, carefully, building a safety net she knew nothing about. Next, I made copies of everything important: marriage certificate, tax returns, mortgage documents, car titles, insurance policies. I scanned them all, uploaded them to a cloud storage account she didn't have access to, and stored physical copies in a lockbox at my office. Then I looked up divorce attorneys. I found one 2 towns over, Richard Kepler, mid-50s, calm demeanor, good reviews. The kind of lawyer who'd seen every ugly marriage in the county and wasn't shocked by any of it. I called his office during my lunch break. "Kepler Law, how can I help you?" "I'd like to schedule a consultation." "What's the nature of the case?" "Divorce." "Are you currently married?" "Yes." "Any children?" "No." "When would you like to come in?" "As soon as possible." We set an appointment for the following Tuesday. I paid cash for the consultation when I showed up. No paper trail. Richard's office was small, neat, organized. He sat across from me with a legal pad and a pen, looking patient. "So," he said, "tell me what's going on." I told him. Not everything, not the emotional parts, just the facts, the trips to Lakewood, the receipts, the lies about work retreats, the pattern of behavior, the evidence I'd been collecting. Richard listened, took notes. When I finished, he set his pen down. "You want a divorce?" "Eventually." "Eventually." "I need to do this right," I said. "I don't want to blow everything up and then end up getting screwed because I acted emotionally." He nodded slowly. "That's smart. Most people don't think that way. They want to burn the house down and deal with the consequences later. I'm not most people." "No," he said. "You're not." He leaned forward. "Here's what you need to know. Indiana is a no-fault state, which means you don't technically need proof of adultery to file. But documentation helps, especially if there are disputes over assets or if she tries to paint you as unstable." "I've been documenting everything." "Good. Keep doing that. Dates, times, locations, expenses. The more concrete, the better." He tapped his pen on the pad. "Do you own property together?" "House is in both names." "Any joint accounts?" "One checking, one savings." Start separating your finances, quietly. Don't drain the joint accounts. That'll look vindictive. But protect what's yours. Open new accounts. Redirect your income. Build a buffer." "Already doing that." He looked impressed. You're ahead of the curve. He paused. One more thing. Don't do anything that could be used against you. No confrontations, no threats, no physical altercations. Stay calm, stay clean. Let her be the one who looks irrational. I can do that. Good. When you're ready to file, call me. We'll handle the rest. We shook hands. I walked out feeling lighter than I had in weeks. That night, Jessica noticed something had shifted. You're being weird, she said, standing in the bedroom doorway while I folded laundry. Slowly, badly, like I'd forgotten how. Weird how? Quiet, distant, like you're not really here. I looked up at her. I'm here? Are you mad at me? No. Then what's going on? I set down the shirt I was folding. I'm tired, Jess. Work's been intense. The expansion's hitting deadlines. I'm stressed. She studied me, suspicious. You sure that's all? What else would it be? She didn't answer, just kept staring, like she was trying to find the lie hidden somewhere in my face. Finally, she sighed. Okay, well, don't shut me out. I'm not. She left. I went back to folding laundry, and I smiled. 2 days later, my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Is this Andrew? I stared at the screen for a full minute before responding. Who's this? The reply came fast. We need to talk. It's about Travis. My chest tightened. I thought about ignoring it, deleting the message, blocking the number. But curiosity won. Who are you? The response was 2 words that changed everything. His wife. I sat in my truck in the hospital parking garage, staring at those 2 words, trying to process what they meant. Travis was married. I'd known that. Jessica had mentioned it casually, like it didn't matter, like it was just another detail in the story she'd been telling herself. But now his wife knew something, and she was reaching out to me, which meant either she was about to blow this whole thing wide open, or she was about to drag me into something even messier. I typed a response. When? The reply was instant. Tomorrow. 2 p.m. Riverside Cafe. Come alone. I stared at the message, thought about what I was walking into, thought about whether I should bring someone, thought about whether this was a trap. Then I put the phone down, started the truck, and drove home. Jessica was on the couch when I walked in, scrolling through her phone, smiling at something I couldn't see. Hey, she said, not looking up. How was your day? Fine, I said. She nodded, kept scrolling, and I walked past her into the kitchen, poured myself a drink, and tried to imagine what tomorrow would bring. Jessica loved an audience. That was the part I hadn't fully understood until the night of the hospital fundraiser gala. It wasn't enough for her to cheat. She needed people to see it, to know it, to watch her get away with it. That's what made it real for her. The performance, the power, the proof that she could do whatever she wanted, and I'd just stand there, smiling like the dependable husband I was supposed to be. The gala was black tie, big venue downtown, chandeliers, open bar, silent auction tables covered in gift baskets nobody actually wanted. It was a yearly thing. Hospital staff, donors, board members, local politicians pretending to care about healthcare while sipping overpriced wine. Jessica had been talking about it for weeks. New dress, hair appointment, nails done. She'd even asked me, 3 days before, if I'd remembered to pick up my suit from the dry cleaner. I got it, I said. Good. I want us to look good together. Us. Like we were a team. Like we were on the same side. I almost laughed. The night of the gala, I put on the suit. Black, tailored, the kind of thing that made me look like I belonged in rooms I didn't care about. I tied my tie in the mirror, watching my own reflection, and for a second I didn't recognize myself either. Jessica came out of the bedroom looking like a weapon. Red dress, fitted, the kind that made everyone turn their heads, hair pinned up perfectly, lipstick sharp enough to leave marks. How do I look? She asked, spinning slightly. Good, I said. She frowned. Just good? You look beautiful, I corrected. She smiled, satisfied. Then she checked her phone, typed something fast, smiled at whatever appeared on the screen. Travis is going to be there, she said, casual, like she was mentioning the weather. Of course he is. She looked at me. Is that going to be a problem? Why would it be? She studied my face for a moment, like she was trying to find the crack, the anger, the weakness she expected. But I'd gotten good at this, at keeping my face smooth, at breathing through the rage building in my chest. It won't be, I said. She nodded, grabbed her purse. Let's go. We arrived fashionably late. The ballroom was already crowded. People clustered in groups, holding drinks, laughing too loud at jokes that weren't funny. I recognized faces. colleagues from different departments, administrators I'd worked with on permits, donors I'd met during site visits, people who knew my name but didn't really know me. Jessica's hand was on my arm as we walked in, playing the part of devoted wife. She waved at someone across the room. Karen, of course, wearing something loud and sparkling, her husband Phil trailing behind her like an afterthought. "There they are," Karen squealed, pulling Jessica into a hug. She glanced at me. "Andrew, you clean up nice." "Thanks." Phil nodded at me. We exchanged the universal look of men who'd rather be anywhere else, doing anything else. "Travis is at the bar," Karen said, leaning into Jessica like she was sharing classified information. "He looks amazing tonight." Jessica's eyes flicked toward the bar. I followed her gaze without moving my head. There he was, dark suit, no tie, effortlessly cool in that way that made me want to throw him through the nearest window. He was talking to some woman in a blue dress, but his eyes were scanning the room, looking for her. "I'm going to say hi," Jessica said, already moving. I didn't follow. I stayed with Karen and Phil, nodding along as Karen talked about something I wasn't listening to. I watched Jessica cross the room, watched the way people moved out of her way, watched Travis's face change the moment he spotted her. The hug was long. Too long, his hand on her waist, her hand on his chest, both of them smiling like they were the only two people in the room. Phil cleared his throat beside me. "You want a drink, Andrew?" "Yeah." We went to the bar together. I ordered whiskey. Phil ordered beer. We stood there in silence, watching the crowd, not talking about what we'd both just seen. "You doing okay?" Phil asked after a minute, his voice low. I looked at him. He looked back. And I realized suddenly that Phil knew. He'd known the whole time. He just didn't know what to say about it. "I'm fine," I said. He nodded. Didn't push. We touched glasses and drank without making eye contact. Dinner was worse than I'd expected. The seating arrangements had been carefully planned, and somehow Jessica and I ended up at a table with Karen, Phil, Travis, and two other couples I barely knew. Jessica sat between me and Travis, close enough that their shoulders touched whenever one of them leaned forward. I sat on her other side, cutting into rubber chicken that tasted like cardboard, pretending not to notice the way she angled her body away from me and toward him. The conversation was light at first. Fundraising goals, hospital expansion timelines, someone's recent vacation to Italy that involved too much wine and not enough planning. Then Travis started talking about a campaign he just wrapped up for a local election. "High stakes," he said. His candidate won by double digits. "It's all about messaging," he said, gesturing with his fork like he was conducting an orchestra. "You tell people what they want to hear, package it the right way, and they'll believe anything." Jessica laughed. "You're terrible." "I'm honest," he said, grinning at her in a way that made my jaw tighten. Karen leaned across the table toward me. "Andrew, you're so quiet tonight. Everything okay?" I looked up. Everyone was looking at me now, waiting. "Just listening," I said. "He does that," Jessica said, patting my hand like I was a dog who'd performed a trick. "Andrew's the strong, silent type, aren't you, honey?" There was something condescending in her tone, something meant to diminish me in front of everyone at the table. Travis smirked. Nothing wrong with that. Some guys need to be loud to prove they matter. Some guys don't need to prove anything. There was a pause, just long enough to feel like an insult wrapped in a compliment. I smiled, took a sip of my drink. "Exactly." Jessica's phone buzzed on the table. She glanced at it without picking it up, smiled at whatever she saw, then typed something quickly. 30 seconds later, Travis's phone buzzed. He glanced at it, smiled, put it away without responding. Nobody else seemed to notice the timing. I noticed. After dinner, people started mingling again, moving between tables, visiting the silent auction, refilling drinks. Jessica excused herself to the restroom. Karen followed immediately, like they were attached by an invisible string. Travis drifted toward the auction tables, hands in his pockets, looking relaxed and confident like he owned the room. I stayed at the table, nursing my drink. Phil had wandered off somewhere, probably hiding in a corner. One of the other men at the table, I think his name was Mark, leaned over slightly. "Your wife and Travis go way back, huh?" he said. "Yeah," I said. "They dated a long time ago." "He's a good guy," Mark said. "Helped my brother run a campaign last year. Real professional. Gets results." "That's what I hear." Mark lowered his voice, glancing around like he was sharing something sensitive. "He's got a reputation, though, if you know what I mean." I looked at him directly. "What kind of reputation?" Mark shifted uncomfortably. "You know, with women. But I'm sure it's just talk. People exaggerate." Yeah, I said. Probably. He nodded quickly, relieved, and changed the subject to something about hospital parking policies. But I filed the information away in my mental list. Mark confirmed Travis has a reputation with women. Jessica came back from the restroom 20 minutes later. Her hair looked slightly different. Her lipstick had been reapplied, but not quite evenly. She slid into her seat next to me, leaned close, and whispered in my ear. I'm going to step outside for some air. Travis is going to join me. Don't wait up. She didn't ask permission. She didn't even pretend to ask. She told me what was happening and expected me to sit there and accept it. I watched her stand, smooth her dress, walk toward the exit with her head held high. Travis followed 30 seconds later, moving casually like he was just stepping out for a phone call. I sat there for 5 minutes. Then I stood, walked toward the exit myself, and stopped just outside the ballroom doors in the hallway. I didn't follow them outside. I didn't need to see them together to know what they were doing. I already knew. Instead, I pulled out my phone, opened my note app, added another entry with the date and time, November 3rd, Gala. Jessica and Travis left venue together under pretense of getting air, absent for extended period. Then I walked back inside, ordered another drink from the bar, and waited. An hour later, Jessica came back. Her hair was slightly messed up in a way that suggested wind, but felt like something else. Her lipstick had been reapplied again, but this time there was a small smudge at the corner of her mouth she'd missed. She slid into her seat like nothing had happened, like she'd just been having a normal conversation outside. Where'd you go? I asked, keeping my voice neutral. Just needed some air, she said. It's so stuffy in here, hard to breathe. Yeah, I said. It is. She smiled at me, that same smile, the one that used to make me feel lucky to be with her. Now it just made me feel cold inside, and that's when I understood something fundamental had shifted in me. I didn't want to save this marriage anymore. I didn't want to have a conversation about boundaries or feelings or respect. I wanted to end it in a way she would never forget, in a way that would strip away every piece of comfort and security she'd built on top of my silent labor and support. I wanted her to know what it felt like when the foundation you've been standing on disappears. I stopped being useful. That was the first real move. Not dramatic, not obvious, just systematically absent from all the small tasks that had been holding her life together. For 6 years, I'd been the one who made everything work. I paid the bills on time, scheduled the car maintenance, dealt with insurance renewals, property tax deadlines, HOA complaints about our mailbox, the plumber when the kitchen sink backed up, the electrician when outlets stopped working. I handled the boring infrastructure of adult life so Jessica could focus on her career, her social calendar, her image. She'd gotten so comfortable with it that she didn't even register all the work I was doing anymore. It had become invisible to her. Expected, automatic, so I made it stop being automatic. The internet bill came due on a Tuesday. I saw the notification. I deleted it. 3 days later, Jessica was trying to watch something on her laptop and couldn't connect. Andrew, is the internet down? I looked up from the book I was reading. Huh? Maybe the payment didn't go through? Did you check the account? You always handle the internet. I've been completely swamped with the expansion project. Do you mind calling the provider and sorting it out? She looked at me like I'd asked her to perform surgery. I guess. Thanks. You're a lifesaver. She made the call, clearly annoyed, and spent 20 minutes on hold before getting it resolved. I went back to my book. A week later, the vehicle registration renewal arrived in the mail. I opened it, looked at the deadline, and left it on the kitchen counter. Didn't mention it, didn't put it somewhere obvious, just left it there with the rest of the mail. 2 days before the deadline, Jessica found it buried under some grocery store flyers. Andrew, did you see this? It's due in 2 days. Oh, right. I've been meaning to get to that. Can you do it today? I've got 3 back-to-back site inspections tomorrow, and I need to prep tonight. You have time, right? She stared at me in disbelief. I have a full schedule, too. I know, but this is just one thing. It'll take 20 minutes online. Please? She grabbed the form, irritated. Fine, but you need to start staying on top of this stuff. You're right, I'm sorry, I'll do better. I didn't do better. The grocery shopping I'd always handled, I stopped. She'd come home from work, open the refrigerator, and find it nearly empty. Did you not go to the store this week? Completely slipped my mind. Long week. Can you grab some essentials tomorrow on your way home? Andrew, I don't have time to... I know. I'm sorry. I'll make it up to you this weekend. Just maybe grab milk and bread for now? She would. Frustrated. Confused about why I was suddenly so unreliable. The laundry that used to magically get done? It started piling up. We ran out of clean towels, clean sheets. Her favorite work blouse sat in the hamper for 2 weeks. Andrew, we don't have any clean towels. Oh no, I completely forgot. I'll throw a load in tonight. Can you do it now? I need a shower. I'm in the middle of some work emails. Can you start a load and I'll move it to the dryer in an hour? Each time she'd look at me with increasing frustration. Each time I'd apologize, promise to do better, blame work stress, blame exhaustion. And each time I'd watch her realize just a little bit more how much invisible work I'd been doing that she'd taken completely for granted. But I wasn't just withdrawing my labor. I was building walls she couldn't see yet. I'd started moving money weeks ago, but now I accelerated it. My paycheck got deposited every 2 weeks. Instead of letting the full amount hit our joint checking account like it had for years, I redirected 40% of it to my old personal account from before we got married. The joint account still had enough to cover shared expenses, just barely. But the cushion that used to be there, the buffer that covered Jessica's impulsive purchases and expensive dinners, that was disappearing. Then I opened a second savings account at a completely different bank across town. No shared statements, no joint access, no way for her to accidentally discover it. I transferred funds slowly. 500 here, 1,000 there, nothing dramatic enough to trigger alerts or questions. Within a month, I'd quietly built a safety net of almost $8,000 that Jessica knew nothing about. Next, I made copies of everything that mattered. I spent a weekend when Jessica was visiting Karen, scanning every important document we had: marriage certificate, 6 years of tax returns, the mortgage paperwork, both car titles, every insurance policy, my employment contracts, bank statements going back 3 years. I uploaded everything to a cloud storage account she didn't have access to. Then I printed physical copies and stored them in a locked filing box I kept at my office, in a cabinet I had the only key to. I was preparing for war, but doing it so quietly she'd never see it coming. Then I called Richard Kepler again. We met at the same coffee shop, 2 towns over, during my lunch break on a Thursday. Richard showed up with the same legal pad, the same calm expression. "How's it going?" he asked as we sat down. "I'm doing what you said, separating finances, documenting everything." "Good." He pulled out his pen. "Are you ready to file?" "Not yet, but soon." He nodded. "What's changed since we last talked?" I told him about the public humiliation at the gala, the way she'd announced she was leaving with Travis right in front of me, the pattern of behavior that had only gotten more blatant. "She's not even trying to hide it anymore," I said. "It's like she wants me to know, like she gets something out of it." Richard tapped his pen on the pad. "Some people do. The power dynamic becomes part of the thrill. That's sick. It's human." He leaned forward. "Here's what you need to understand, Andrew. When you file, there's going to be a reaction. She's going to either try to love bomb you back into compliance, or she's going to go nuclear and try to destroy your reputation before you can destroy hers. You need to be ready for both. I can handle it. Can you? Because the version of her you're married to right now, the one who humiliates you publicly, that's going to get worse when she realizes she's losing control." I thought about that. "What do you recommend?" "Have your evidence organized and ready. Have your new bank account secured. Have somewhere else you can stay if you need to leave quickly. And most importantly, don't do anything that gives her ammunition." "Like what?" "Don't lose your temper. Don't make threats. Don't touch her in anger. Don't damage her property. Stay calm. Stay clean. Be the reasonable one." "I can do that." "Good." He closed his notebook. "When you're ready, call me. We'll file and serve her the same day, clean and fast." We shook hands. I paid in cash again. Then I drove back to work, feeling the weight of what I was building toward. That night, Jessica noticed something had shifted. "You're being strange," she said, standing in the bedroom doorway while I sat on the bed folding laundry slowly and badly. "Strange how?" "Distant, like you're here but you're not here." I looked up at her. "I'm here." "Are you mad at me about something?" "No." "Then what's going on with you?" I set down the shirt I was folding. "I'm exhausted, Jess. Work has been brutal. The hospital expansion is hitting deadlines and everything's behind schedule. I'm barely sleeping. I'm stressed." She studied my face, suspicious. "That's all it is?" "What else would it be?" She didn't answer right away. Just kept staring at me like she was searching for something. Some crack in my story. Some evidence that I knew more than I was saying. Finally, she sighed. "Okay. Well, don't shut me out. We're supposed to be a team." "I know. I'm sorry. I'll try to do better." She nodded, apparently satisfied, and went back to scrolling through her phone on the couch. I went back to folding laundry, moving slowly, deliberately making myself seem checked out and overwhelmed, and I smiled because she had no idea what was coming. 2 days later, my phone vibrated with a text from the unknown number again. Did you think about what I said? I stared at it for a moment, then replied, Yeah, I'm in. The response came immediately. Good. We need to meet again? Tomorrow. Same place. 1 p.m. I'll be there. This time I didn't hesitate. This time I knew exactly what I was walking into. A partnership built on mutual destruction. Riverside Cafe looked exactly the same as it had the first time. Small tables, quiet corners, the kind of place where people met to discuss things they didn't want overheard. I arrived 5 minutes early, ordered coffee, sat in the same corner booth with my back to the wall. Lauren Cole walked in at exactly 1 o'clock. She was dressed differently this time. Business casual, hair down, less severe than before, but still composed, still someone who didn't waste time. She sat across from me without preamble. Thank you for coming, she said. You made it sound important? It is. She pulled out her phone, swiped through something, then turned the screen toward me. It was a photo. Travis and Jessica, standing outside a cabin, his hand on her lower back, her smiling up at him. The timestamp said 3 weeks ago. The location metadata said Evergreen Cabins, Lakewood. I'd already seen evidence of this, but seeing it in someone else's hands, documented, time-stamped, undeniable, hit differently. You've been following them, I said. Documenting, she corrected. There's a difference. Following is emotional. Documenting is strategic. I nodded slowly. Fair point. Lauren pulled her phone back and opened another folder. I've been tracking his patterns for almost 2 years. Lakewood isn't his only spot, but it's his favorite. He goes there twice a month, always books the same cabin under his business account, always goes Friday afternoon, comes back Sunday evening. And Jessica's been part of this for how long? 4 months that I know of. Before her, there was someone else. Before that, someone else. He cycles through women like they're business deals. When one gets too complicated or starts asking questions, he moves on. I leaned back in my seat. Why are you telling me this? Because I'm tired of being the only person who knows the truth. Because my husband has been making me feel insane for 2 years while he runs around with half the professional women in this city. And because I think you and I want the same thing. Which is? To make sure they both face real consequences. The waitress came by. Lauren ordered tea. We waited until she walked away before continuing. I'm a compliance officer for a pharmaceutical company, Lauren said. I know how to build cases. I know how to document patterns of behavior. I know how to present evidence in a way that's undeniable. And you've been building a case against Travis. Yes, for when I'm ready to file for divorce. But divorce isn't enough. I don't just want to split assets and walk away. I want him to lose the things that matter to him. His reputation, his professional network, his ability to lie without consequences. I understood that. I felt that. So what do you need from me? I asked. Cooperation, she said. You have access to things I don't. Jessica works at the hospital. You manage projects there. You know people, vendors, schedules. You can confirm things I can't confirm from the outside. Like what? Like when they're planning their next trip. Like who else in their social circle knows and is covering for them. Like whether Jessica has been using hospital time or resources to facilitate this. I thought about it. Turned it over in my mind. And what do I get out of this? Proof, Lauren said simply. Clean, documented, time-stamped proof. The kind that holds up if anyone ever questions your version of events. The kind that makes it impossible for Jessica to spin this into you being paranoid or controlling. She wasn't wrong. I'd been gathering evidence on my own, but it was scattered, incomplete. Having someone else's independent documentation would make everything ironclad. I'm not interested in breaking the law, I said. Neither am I. No hacking, no illegal surveillance, no trespassing. Agreed. And we don't hurt anyone who isn't directly involved. Agreed. I studied her face, calm, controlled, angry, but not out of control. She reminded me of myself in that moment. Why should I trust you? I asked. She held my gaze. You shouldn't, but right now I'm the only person who wants the same thing you do and has the means to help you get it. She was right. Okay, I said. What's the plan? Lauren pulled out a paper notebook. Actual paper, no digital trail. She flipped it open to a page covered in neat, precise handwriting. Travis has a donor event coming up in 3 weeks, she said. Big political fundraiser for a state senate campaign he's consulting on. Black tie, high profile. Jessica will be there. How do you know? Because I have access to his email, shared cloud account. He gave me the password years ago and never changed it. Not technically illegal if we're both on the account. I almost smiled at that. She's not listed as his +1, Lauren continued, but she'll be there as part of the hospital's donor contingent. They're both on the guest list. Separately, but they'll find each other. And you want me to show up? Yes. Why? Because I'm going to confront him, publicly, in front of everyone who matters to his career, and I want Jessica to see it. I want her to understand that the man she's been sneaking around with isn't some successful, unmarried consultant. He's a liar who's been running the same game on multiple women simultaneously. I shook my head. That's messy. It's necessary. It's emotional. It's both, she said firmly. Look, Andrew, you can do this the quiet way. File for divorce, split assets, move on with your life. That's clean, that's civilized. But it also lets them both off easy. Jessica goes back to her life. Travis goes back to his. They both get to tell themselves it wasn't that bad, that nobody really got hurt. I didn't respond. Or, Lauren continued, leaning forward, you can make sure everyone knows. You can make sure their friends, their colleagues, their professional networks all see exactly who they are. You can make sure the consequences are real and lasting. Revenge, I said. Accountability, she corrected. I sat with that for a moment, thought about Jessica's smile at the gala, the way she'd announced she was leaving with Travis right in front of me, the way she'd laughed with her friends about it later, like I was too stupid or too weak to do anything about it. What happens after? I asked. After we go our separate ways. You do what you need to do with Jessica. I do what I need to do with Travis. Clean break. And if this goes wrong, then we both have lawyers and documentation that proves we were operating on facts, not emotions. She closed her notebook. But it won't go wrong, because we're not acting on impulse. We're acting on evidence and strategy. I looked at her for a long moment. She looked back. Steady, certain, finally I nodded. Okay, I'm in. She exhaled slightly, like she'd been holding her breath. One condition, I said. This stays nonviolent. I don't care how angry we get. Nobody gets physically hurt. Agreed. We shook hands across the table. Professional, formal, like we were signing a contract. Then she stood, gathered her things, and walked out without looking back. I sat there for another 10 minutes, staring at my coffee, thinking about what I'd just committed to. Partnership with a stranger, built on shared betrayal, aimed at mutual destruction. It should have felt wrong. Instead, it felt like the first honest thing I'd done in months. That night, Jessica came home late. She smelled like wine and expensive cologne that wasn't mine. She kissed me on the cheek absently and headed straight for the bedroom. How was your day? I called after her. Fine. Dinner with coworkers. You know how it is. I did know. I knew exactly how it was. My phone buzzed 20 minutes later. A text from Lauren. Travis just booked the cabin again. Next weekend. Friday through Sunday. Same place. I typed back quickly. Jessica told me this morning she has a work conference next weekend. Out of town, mandatory. Lauren's response came immediately. Then we know exactly where she'll be. I set my phone down, leaned back against the couch, closed my eyes. Next weekend, I was going to Lakewood. And this time, I wasn't going alone. Jessica left Friday at noon, one small duffel bag, casual clothes, the same routine I'd watched her perform multiple times now. Conference is 2 days, she said, kissing me quickly in the kitchen. I'll be back Sunday evening. Don't wait up. Have fun, I said. Learn lots of important residency coordination things. She gave me a look I couldn't quite read. Suspicion? Annoyance? I couldn't tell anymore. I will. Try not to let the house fall apart while I'm gone. Then she was out the door. I watched from the window as her car pulled out of the driveway and disappeared down the street. I waited exactly 5 minutes. Then I grabbed my own bag, already packed and hidden in my truck since last night, and called Lauren. She just left, I said. Travis left 30 minutes ago. I'm already on Route 16 heading north. Where are you? About to leave now. I'll be there in 2 hours. Be careful. Don't get spotted. Don't do anything stupid. Same to you. I hung up, locked the front door, got in my truck, started driving. The route to Lakewood was straightforward. Highway north for 60 miles, then west on smaller roads that cut through farmland and forest. The landscape gradually shifted from suburban sprawl to genuine countryside. Towns got smaller. Traffic thinned out. Cell service became spotty. It felt like driving towards something inevitable. Lakewood itself was exactly what I'd imagined from the receipts and photos. Population maybe 3,000. One main street with a coffee shop, a diner, a general store, and a bar that looked like it hadn't changed since 1970. Beyond that, just residential streets, hiking trails, and vacation cabins scattered around a small lake. the kind of place people came to pretend they'd escaped their real lives for a weekend. Lauren had sent me detailed directions to a public parking area near the lake trail system, about a quarter-mile from Evergreen Cabins. When I pulled in, her gray sedan was already there, parked in the far corner next to a cluster of trees. I parked 3 spots away, grabbed my backpack, walked over to where she was sitting on a bench near the trailhead, dressed like a hiker, wearing sunglasses and a baseball cap that hid most of her face. "They're already inside," she said quietly as I sat down next to her. "I watched them both check in separately about an hour ago. Travis went in first. Jessica arrived 20 minutes later." "Anyone see you?" "No, and I was careful. Stayed out of direct sight lines. Used the hiking trails as cover." I nodded, pulling out my phone. "What's the plan?" Lauren pulled out a small camera. Nothing fancy, just a decent digital point and shoot. "We wait. We watch. If they leave the cabin, we follow at a safe distance. If they go somewhere public, we document it. Photos, timestamps, locations. If anyone else shows up, we note who. And if they don't leave, then we wait, all night if we have to." I looked at her. "You've done this before, haven't you?" "I've practiced," she said simply. "You don't spend 2 years married to a liar without learning how to verify things." We waited. For the first hour, nothing happened. The cabin stayed quiet. No movement except the occasional shadow passing by a window. No sounds except birds and wind through the trees. Lauren sat on the bench, pretending to read a book. I walked the trail loop twice, slow and casual, like I was just another weekend hiker killing time before dinner. My heart was pounding the entire time. My hands kept shaking slightly, so I shoved them in my pockets and focused on breathing steadily. At 6:15, the cabin door opened. Travis came out first. Jeans, casual jacket, sunglasses. He stretched, looked around like he owned the place, then walked toward his car. Jessica followed a minute later. She was wearing the sundress I'd watched her pack that morning. Hair down, makeup done. She looked relaxed, happy. They didn't touch each other outside, didn't kiss. Just got into separate vehicles and drove toward town. "They're moving," Lauren said, already standing. "Stay behind me. Keep at least 2 cars between us." We followed. Travis and Jessica both parked near Pinewood Grill, the same restaurant from all the previous receipts. Upscale for Lakewood, dim lighting, tables with candles, the kind of place you took someone when you wanted to pretend you were sophisticated. Lauren and I parked 2 blocks away, walked separately to avoid looking like we were together. I went inside first, sat at the bar, ordered a beer I didn't plan to drink. Through the bar mirror, I could see them at a corner table, laughing, leaning toward each other. Travis reached across the table, touched her hand. Jessica didn't pull away. She smiled like this was the most natural thing in the world. I took a photo with my phone, subtle, angled like I was checking a text message, time-stamped automatically. Lauren came in 5 minutes later, sat 3 stools away, ordered water. She took photos too, different angles, better lighting. We stayed for 25 minutes, long enough to document them together, long enough to see Travis lean in and kiss her quickly when he thought nobody was watching. Then we left separately before they finished their meal. We regrouped at Lauren's car. She pulled up the photos on her camera, scrolling through them quickly. "These are good," she said. "Clear faces, obvious context, date and time stamped. Is it enough? For what we need? Yes. But I want more. I want witnesses. I want other people who can testify they saw them together if it ever comes to that." "How do we get that?" She looked at me. "We go back to the cabin area, and we wait to see who else shows up." At 9:45, 2 more cars pulled into the Evergreen Cabins parking area. I recognized one immediately. Karen's white SUV with the dent in the rear bumper from when she'd backed into a pole at the hospital 6 months ago. "That's Jessica's best friend," I said quietly. Lauren raised an eyebrow. "Perfect." Karen got out, along with another woman I didn't recognize, both carrying wine bottles, both dressed like they were going to a party, laughing loud. Jessica opened the cabin door before they could knock, hugged them both, let them inside. The door closed, lights stayed on. Music started playing softly. I could hear it faintly from where Lauren and I were positioned in the shadows near the tree line. "They're making a party of it," Lauren said quietly. I felt something cold settle in my chest. This wasn't just an affair. This was routine, practiced, something Jessica and her friends had done multiple times before. "How long do we stay?" I asked. "As long as it takes to see what else happens." We waited in the shadows. Minutes turned into an hour, then another hour. The cabin stayed lit. The music kept playing. Shadows moved past the windows occasionally. At 11:53, headlights swept across the parking area again. A silver sedan pulled in. Expensive. New. Someone got out. A woman. Tall. Blonde. Dressed too well for a casual cabin weekend. She walked directly to the cabin door. Knocked. Travis opened it. And she kissed him. Not a friendly kiss. Not a polite greeting. A real kiss. The kind that meant something. "Who is that?" I whispered. Lauren had her camera up, snapping photos rapidly. "I have no idea, but Travis just made this a lot more complicated for himself." The blonde woman went inside. The door closed. The light stayed on. I stared at that cabin, trying to process what I'd just seen. Travis wasn't just cheating on Lauren with Jessica. He was cheating on both of them with someone else entirely. "Get photos of the license plate," Lauren said quietly, already moving. I followed her, staying low, staying in the shadows. She photographed the silver sedan from multiple angles, making sure the plate was visible in every shot. Then we retreated back to the trees. "What now?" I asked. Lauren was scrolling through her photos, checking the quality. "Now we have everything we need. Travis with Jessica, Travis with someone else, Jessica with her friends who are clearly complicit, all documented, all time-stamped. And what do we do with it?" She looked at me. "We wait for the right moment, and then we make sure everyone who matters sees it." We left Lakewood separately. Lauren first, then me 30 minutes later. I drove home in silence, hands tight on the steering wheel, mind racing through everything I'd seen. When I got home at 2 in the morning, the house was empty and dark. Jessica wouldn't be back until Sunday evening. I sat in the kitchen with all the lights off, staring at nothing, thinking about what came next. My phone buzzed, a text from Lauren. I found out who the blonde is. Friend of a friend ran the plates. Her name is Monica Vance. She's a regional sales director for a medical device company, also married. I stared at that message for a long time. Then I typed back, "This is bigger than we thought." Her response came immediately. "Yes, which means when we move hard. No half measures." I put my phone down, sat in the darkness, and felt something settle into place. This wasn't just about Jessica anymore. This was about burning down an entire structure of lies. And I was ready. I spent Sunday preparing. Jessica wouldn't be home until evening, which gave me hours to think, to plan, to decide exactly how I wanted to handle what came next. Lauren had texted me twice since yesterday, once with more information about Monica Vance, the blonde woman who'd shown up at the cabin, regional sales director for a medical device company, married to a surgeon named David Vance, 2 kids, ages 8 and 11, active in her church community, board member for a local charity, the kind of person who'd built an entire public image around family values while apparently spending weekends in Lakewood with other people's husbands. The second text was simpler. "We need to talk about next steps. Call me when you can." I didn't call, not yet. I needed to think first. Because what I'd seen Friday night had shifted something fundamental in my understanding of the situation. This wasn't just Jessica cheating with Travis. This was Travis running an entire operation. Multiple women, multiple lies, all carefully compartmentalized so nobody knew about the others. And Jessica had no idea she was just one piece of a larger pattern. Part of me, a small, vindictive part I didn't entirely recognize, wanted to tell her, wanted to show her the photos of Travis kissing Monica Vance, wanted to watch her face when she realized the man she'd been risking her marriage for wasn't even faithful to his affair with her. But the smarter part of me, the part that had been building evidence and planning moves like chess pieces, knew that revealing what I knew too early would waste the advantage. So I waited. Jessica came home at 7:30 Sunday evening. She looked tired, but satisfied, like someone who'd had a good weekend away. She dropped her duffel bag by the door, kicked off her shoes, and walked into the kitchen where I was making dinner. "Hey," she said. "Something smells good." "Chicken stir-fry," I said, not looking up from the stove. "How was the conference?" "Boring. Lots of policy discussions. Breakout sessions on compliance updates and residency requirements. You know how it is?" She grabbed a glass of water from the cabinet, leaned against the counter. "How was your weekend?" "Quiet. Caught up on some work emails. Watched the game yesterday afternoon. Fixed that leaky faucet in the guest bathroom that's been dripping for 3 weeks. She nodded, already pulling out her phone, scrolling through whatever messages had piled up while she was driving home. I watched her out of the corner of my eye, trying to see any hint of guilt or discomfort, any sign that she felt even slightly bad about where she'd actually been, what she'd actually been doing. It's nothing. She was completely comfortable, completely confident in her lies. They rolled off her tongue so naturally she probably half believed them herself by now. "I'm going to take a shower," she said after a minute. "Be down in 20. Sure. She left. I heard her footsteps on the stairs, heard the bathroom door close, heard the water start running. I pulled out my phone and called Lauren. She answered on the second ring. Hey. She just got home, acting like nothing happened. Gave me the whole conference story without even blinking. Talked about policy sessions and compliance training like she'd actually been there. Of course she is. They always do. The lies become so automatic they probably don't even register as lies anymore in their own minds. Lauren's voice was calm, steady, professional. Did you think about what I said? About next steps? Yeah, I've been thinking about it all day. And I took a breath. I think we need to do something that makes Travis panic. Something that throws him off balance before the big confrontation at the donor event. Something small enough that it seems like bad luck, but significant enough that it rattles him. I'm listening. He parks his car at the hospital sometimes, right? When he's meeting with clients in the medical building? Yeah, he's got consulting contracts with a few physicians. Uses the medical arts building conference rooms for meetings. Acts like he has privileges there even though he doesn't work for the hospital. Why? Because I manage that facility. I have access to the security office. I know all the parking enforcement protocols. If his car is parked in reserved physician spots without the proper permit, it can be towed. Completely legal. Just enforcing clearly posted rules that everyone else has to follow. There was a pause on the other end. Then Lauren said, "That's actually smart. It's petty enough to get under his skin, but it's totally legitimate. Not harassment, not stalking, just consequences for breaking rules that are clearly posted with signs every 20 feet. More than that," I said. If I time it right, I can make sure Jessica's around when it happens, make sure she sees him lose control when he realizes he can't just charm his way out of it. Men like Travis don't handle feeling powerless very well. They're used to talking their way out of consequences. You think he'll panic? I think he'll react emotionally. And when people like him react emotionally instead of strategically, they make mistakes. They say things they shouldn't. They show their true nature. And Jessica will see a side of him that doesn't match the smooth, confident version he's been showing her. Lauren was quiet for a moment, thinking it through. Okay, I like it. It's a small move, but it starts applying real pressure. When can you set it up? This week. I'll coordinate with hospital security tomorrow. Flag his vehicle in the system. I'll let you know the exact timing once I know his schedule. Andrew? Yeah? This is good. You're thinking strategically, not emotionally. That's exactly what we need to do this right. Most people would just explode and confront immediately. But you're building towards something bigger. I hung up as I heard the shower turn off upstairs. Jessica came down 20 minutes later, hair wet and pulled back, wearing my old college sweatshirt that she'd claimed as hers years ago. She looked relaxed. Young. Almost like the person I'd fallen in love with 6 years ago. Almost, but not quite. Because the person I'd fallen in love with wouldn't have lied to my face for months. Wouldn't have spent weekends in Lakewood while telling me she was at work conferences. Wouldn't have made me feel like I was crazy for noticing the obvious. Dinner ready? She asked. Yeah, let's eat. We sat at the table together. She talked about the resident who was struggling with clinical rotations, kept missing evaluations, probably wouldn't make it through the program. I talked about the permit delays on the expansion project, the contractor who kept showing up late, the inspector who kept finding problems that weren't really problems just to justify his job, normal conversation, normal marriage. Except I was thinking about tow trucks and parking violations and watching her boyfriend panic in front of her while his carefully constructed image started cracking. And she was probably thinking about when she could see Travis again, planning their next Lakewood trip, crafting her next lie. After dinner, Jessica curled up on the couch with her laptop, responding to work emails and scrolling through social media. I cleaned the kitchen methodically, loaded the dishwasher, wiped down the counters, took out the trash, did all the invisible labor that kept our household running while she sat there on her phone. Then I went upstairs to the spare bedroom I used as an office and made a phone call. Danny Reeves worked security for the hospital network. We'd known each other for 3 years, ever since I'd started managing the expansion project. He was former military, Air Force, I think, straightforward and professional. The kind of guy who followed procedures exactly because procedures existed for a reason and chaos happened when people ignored them. Danny, it's Andrew Brennan. Hey, Andrew, what's up? I need a favor. Or maybe not a favor exactly. More like following the rules really carefully and consistently. He laughed. That sounds ominous. What's going on? You know the medical arts building parking garage? Yeah, of course. There's a silver Lexus that's been parking in reserved physician spots without a proper permit. Happens regularly, maybe twice a week. I've noticed it when I'm doing site walks through that building. The owner just parks wherever's convenient and assumes nobody will enforce the rules because he's meeting with doctors. Whose spots is he taking? Physician reserved spaces. Level 2. The ones clearly marked with the big signs that say reserved parking, permit required, and unauthorized vehicles will be towed at owner's expense. Danny made a noise of disapproval. That's definitely a towing violation. Those spots are reserved for specific doctors who pay premium rates for guaranteed parking close to their offices. We get complaints about unauthorized vehicles all the time. You want me to put this vehicle on the enforcement list? Yeah. And when it happens, can you make sure it's fully documented? Photos, timestamps, the whole standard procedure? That's protocol anyway for liability reasons, but yeah, I'll make absolutely sure it's done by the book. Every step documented. You got a plate number? I read him Travis's license plate number from the photos Lauren had sent me weeks ago. Got it. I'll flag it in the system right now. Next time that vehicle shows up in a reserved spot without proper authorization, we'll have it towed within the hour. Standard enforcement procedure. No special treatment. Perfect. Thanks, Danny. I appreciate it. No problem, man. People need to follow the posted rules. That's what the signs are for. Can't have some people thinking they're too important to follow basic parking regulations while everyone else has to comply. I hung up and opened my laptop. Logged into the hospital's internal calendar system. I had administrative access because of my facilities management role. Checked Jessica's schedule for the week ahead. Wednesday afternoon, she had a 2-hour block marked Facility Coordination Meeting. I knew that meeting didn't exist. I managed all facility coordination. There was no meeting scheduled for Wednesday afternoon. I would know. I pulled up Travis's Instagram on my phone. He'd posted a story 6 hours ago, some motivational quote about persistence and success, the kind of generic content consultants posted to seem inspirational, but the location tag said Downtown Medical District. He'd been at the hospital today, Sunday, meeting with someone, which meant he had regular consulting work there, probably meeting with physician groups who were considering campaign contributions or looking for political connections. I texted Lauren. Wednesday afternoon, Medical Arts Building. That's when we move. Be ready to document. Her response came immediately. I'll be there. What do you need from me? Just watch from a distance. Document his reaction if you can do it without being obvious. I want a record of how he handles stress when his usual charm doesn't work. On it. I'll park on a different level with a clear view. Monday and Tuesday passed slowly. Work was work. Meetings about contractor schedules, calls with inspectors, emails about permit issues and timeline delays, the normal rhythm of managing a large construction project. At home, Jessica seemed distracted, checking her phone more than usual, having whispered conversations in the bedroom with the door closed. Twice on Monday evening, I heard her laugh at something, that particular laugh she used when she was talking to someone she wanted to impress. Tuesday night over dinner, she mentioned casually, I've got a long meeting tomorrow afternoon. Coordination stuff with multiple departments. Might run past 5. What's it about? I asked, cutting my chicken. Just boring administrative things, scheduling conflicts between residency programs and facility usage. Very dry stuff. Want me to grab dinner for us, then, so you don't have to cook when you get home late? She smiled at me. Genuine warmth. Or at least a good imitation of it. That would be great. Thanks, Andrew. You're sweet. No problem. I watched her go back to her phone. Watched her smile at whatever message had just come through. Watched her type a response quickly, then set the phone face down on the table. Wednesday morning, I went to work early. Stopped by the security office around 7, confirmed with Danny that the silver Lexus was flagged in the enforcement system and ready for immediate action. It shows up today. We'll get it, he said, pulling up the flagged vehicle list on his computer screen. Usually takes about 90 minutes for the tow company to arrive after we call them, sometimes faster if they're already in the area doing other jobs. Perfect. Can you text me when you spot it? I might need to adjust my site walk schedule to be in that area. Sure thing. Happy to help keep the parking system running properly. I spent the morning in meetings, a long session with the construction manager reviewing the schedule for the next 3 months, another meeting with the mechanical engineers discussing HVAC system updates that were running over budget, then a frustrating call with the city permit office about an inspection that had been rescheduled twice already. Normal work, but my mind was elsewhere. Watching the clock, waiting. At 1:17 in the afternoon, my phone buzzed. Text from Danny, silver Lexus just parked in reserve spot 2B. Physician parking, level 2. Calling tow company now. I texted back, keep me updated on timing. I'll be doing a site walk in that area. At 1:45, Danny texted again, tow truck ETA 15 minutes. Should be there by 2 p.m. I texted Lauren, It's happening. Get into position. Medical Arts Building parking garage, level 2. Stay on level 3 if you can. Good vantage point from there. Her response, already here. Parked on level 3 with clear view of level 2. Camera ready. At 2:28, Danny sent another update. Tow truck on site. Driver hooking up the Lexus now. I checked my watch. Gave it 3 more minutes for the hookup to be clearly in progress. Then I grabbed my clipboard, the universal prop of people who belong somewhere, and walked over to the Medical Arts Building like I was doing a routine facilities inspection. Took the elevator up to level 2 of the parking garage. The doors opened onto concrete and fluorescent lights and the echoing sound of a tow truck's equipment engaging. I found a position near one of the structural pillars where I could observe without being obvious. Pulled out my phone like I was checking work emails. The tow truck was impossible to miss. Big, loud, bright yellow with black lettering. The driver was a stocky guy in his 50s, moving with the efficiency of someone who'd done this thousands of times. He was hooking up Travis's silver Lexus with practiced movements, working through the procedure quickly and professionally. At 2:47, Travis came running out of the stairwell. He was on his phone, looking distracted, probably wrapping up whatever meeting he'd been in. Then he looked up, saw the tow truck, saw his car being lifted, and his entire demeanor changed instantly. Hey, that's my car. What are you doing?" The tow truck driver barely looked at him, kept working on securing the vehicle. "Vehicles being towed per hospital parking policy, sir. Parked in reserved physician parking without proper authorization. I was here for a meeting. I'm a consultant. I meet with doctors in this building all the time. I've parked here dozens of times. Consultant parking is on level 4, sir. This level is reserved physician parking only. Signs are clearly posted every 20 feet. The driver gestured without stopping his work to the large signs visible all around us that said exactly that in big letters. This is ridiculous. I was only here for an hour, maybe 90 minutes. Doesn't matter how long you were here, sir. Reserved means reserved 24/7. You need a permit displayed in your windshield to park in these spots. You don't have one. Nobody's ever said anything before. I've been parking here for months. Well, security notice today, sir. Routine enforcement. Happens when we get complaints from the doctors whose spots are being taken by unauthorized vehicles." Travis looked like he was about to explode. His face went red. His jaw clenched so tight I could see the muscles working. He took a breath, clearly trying to control himself, trying to find an angle that would work. "Look, I understand there are rules, but this seems excessive. Can't you just give me a warning? I'll move it right now. I'll park on level 4 from now on." "Can't do that, sir. Once the call's been made and we're on site, we have to complete the tow. Liability reasons. But you can pick up your vehicle at Southside Impound. Address and hours are on this card." He held out a business card without pausing in his work. "There's a release fee of $275 plus storage fees of $50 per day if you don't pick it up within 24 hours. Travis stared at the card like it was personally insulting him. $325 for parking? For parking illegally in reserved spots, yes, sir. Plus, you'll want to get there today to avoid the daily storage fees. They add up quick. This is insane. I want to talk to whoever called this in. This is clearly someone with a personal problem." The driver shrugged, finishing the last connection. "Security called it in, sir. Standard enforcement procedure. You can file a complaint with hospital administration if you want, but the vehicle's still being towed. I'm just doing my job." That's when Jessica appeared. She came out of the same stairwell Travis had emerged from, clearly having been in the same meeting. Maybe she'd gone to the restroom after it ended, or maybe she'd been talking to someone. Either way, she walked out into the parking garage, saw Travis standing there with his hands clenched at his sides, watching his car being lifted onto a tow truck, and stopped. "Travis, what's going on?" He spun around, and for just a flash of a second, his expression was pure rage before he controlled it and forced something closer to frustration. "They're towing my car. Apparently I parked in the wrong spot." "Travis, those are physician-reserved spots. There are signs posted everywhere saying unauthorized vehicles will be towed." "I know that now, Jessica." His voice was sharp, stressed, not the smooth, charming tone he usually used with her. "I've parked here a dozen times, and nobody's ever said anything." "Well, security's been cracking down lately. They sent out a memo about it last week to all the department heads. Too many complaints from doctors who pay for reserved spots and can't use them." "That's wonderful information. Very helpful now that my car is already on a tow truck." Jessica looked taken aback by his tone. Uncomfortable. She glanced around, noticed a few other people in the garage watching the scene, lowered her voice. "I can give you a ride to the impound lot. It's not that far. Over on Southside near the industrial park." "No." Travis's voice was cold, clipped. "I'll call an Uber. You should get back to work." Travis, I don't mind. It's not a problem. I said I'll handle it, Jessica. He pulled out his phone, jabbing at the screen with angry fingers. Just go. Jessica stood there for another moment, clearly hurt by the dismissive tone. Her face showed confusion, maybe a little wounded pride. This wasn't how Travis usually treated her. Usually he was attentive, charming, making her feel special. Then she turned and walked back toward the stairwell, shoulders tight, moving quickly like she wanted to escape the awkwardness of the situation. Travis didn't watch her go. He was too busy pacing in a small circle, phone pressed to his ear now, having what sounded like an increasingly frustrated conversation. Yeah, I need a ride to Southside Impound. No, my car got towed. Because apparently some security guard with a power complex decided today was the day to actually enforce parking rules. The tow truck driver climbed back into his cab, completely unbothered by Travis's anger. Have a good day, sir. Impound lot closes at 6, so you'll want to get there this afternoon. He pulled away slowly, Travis's silver Lexus secured on the back, leaving Travis standing alone in the parking garage, still on his phone. I stayed where I was, near the pillar, pretending to review something on my clipboard, but really watching Travis unravel in small, satisfying ways. He ended his call, made another one immediately. Monica? Yeah, I need a favor. My car just got towed from the hospital. I know, it's ridiculous. Can you pick me up? I'm at the Medical Arts Building. No, I can't wait until later. I have another meeting at 4 across town and I need my car. He paused, listening. His expression darkened. What do you mean you're in a meeting? How long? 2 hours? Monica, I need help now. No, forget it. I'll figure it out. He hung up, stood there for a moment looking at his phone like it had personally betrayed him. Then he pulled up what was clearly a rideshare app and requested a ride. I walked past him toward the elevator, close enough that if he'd been paying attention, he might have noticed me. But he wasn't paying attention to anything except his mounting frustration. Got in the elevator, doors closed, and I allowed myself a smile. First move executed perfectly. Small. Petty in the grand scheme of things, but completely legal and exactly the kind of thing that would start making Travis feel like his control was slipping, like the universe was suddenly noticing his rule breaking instead of letting it slide. I texted Lauren from the elevator. Did you get it? Her response came with a video file attached. Got the whole thing from when he ran out too, when he called the Uber. His reaction was perfect. Angry, dismissive to Jessica, couldn't charm his way out. He's definitely rattled. Good. Keep that footage backed up. We might need it. I texted Danny. Thanks for the assist. Enforcement went smoothly. Danny. No problem. Just doing the job by the book. Guy was pretty upset, though. Security doesn't make the rules, we just enforce them. That's what happens when people think rules don't apply to them. That evening, Jessica came home in a strange mood. Not quite angry. Not quite sad. Something unsettled in between. Like she'd seen something that didn't fit her mental picture and couldn't quite process it. You okay? I asked when she walked into the kitchen where I was prepping dinner like I'd promised. Yeah, just a weird, frustrating day. She poured herself a glass of wine without making eye contact with me. Took a long drink before setting it down. Someone I know got their car towed from the hospital today. It turned into this whole unnecessary scene in the parking garage. Parking enforcement's been getting really strict lately, I said casually, chopping vegetables with steady, even cuts. Danny and security mentioned they're cracking down hard on unauthorized parking in the reserved areas. Too many complaints from the doctors who actually pay premium rates for those guaranteed spots. They were getting upset that consultants and visitors were taking spaces they'd paid for. I guess that makes sense from a policy perspective. It just seemed like such an overreaction over parking. I mean, it's just a parking spot. Rules are rules, though, I said, scraping the vegetables into a pan. You can't have some people following them and others ignoring them based on whether they think they're important enough to be exceptions. That's how systems break down. Someone sees one person parking wherever they want with no consequences, so they do it too. Then everyone does it, and suddenly the whole parking system is chaos and nobody can find spots. She gave me an odd look, a searching look. Since when do you care so much about parking enforcement? I shrugged, keeping my tone casual. I manage facilities. Part of my job is making sure the systems work properly and fairly for everyone, including parking. It's not glamorous, but when systems stop working, everything falls apart. I glanced at her. Plus, rules only work if they apply to everyone equally. Otherwise, they're just suggestions for some people and requirements for others, and that's not really fair, is it? It was just parking, Andrew, not some moral crisis. Nothing's ever just one thing. Everything's connected. One person thinks they're too important to follow posted rules, then everyone sees that behavior get rewarded with no consequences, and pretty soon nobody's following any rules and you've got complete chaos. I looked up at her directly. Don't you think? She didn't answer. Just took another drink of her wine and went to the living room. I went back to cooking, thinking about how Travis had snapped at her, how he'd pushed her away when she offered help, how she'd seen a version of him that probably didn't match the smooth, attentive, charming version he usually performed for her, how that one small crack in his mask might be making her question things she hadn't questioned before, small seeds of doubt, barely visible now, but seeds that would grow. That night, after Jessica went to bed early claiming a headache, probably stress from the weird day, I sat in my office and opened my laptop. Lauren had created a secure, encrypted group chat for the three of us. No regular text messages that could be subpoenaed or screenshot and shared. Just a private messaging app with end-to-end encryption. Lauren, that was a really good move today. Small but effective. Did you see how Jessica reacted to him brushing her off? I was watching from my car on level 3. She looked genuinely hurt that he was short with her, like she's never seen him stressed before and it didn't match her image of him. Monica. Men like Travis can't handle stress or loss of control. They're charming and attentive when everything's going their way and they feel powerful. But the second something disrupts that sense of control, they show their true nature. They get mean, dismissive, they push people away instead of accepting help because accepting help means admitting vulnerability. Exactly. And that's just the beginning. We keep applying small pressure in different ways until the donor event on Saturday. By the time that night comes, he'll already be off balance, already feeling like things are slipping, already on edge. Lauren, what's the next move? Let me think about it overnight. But I want to hit him again before Saturday. Something else small but destabilizing. Something that makes him feel like he's not as in control as he thinks he is. Monica, I might have something useful to contribute. Travis asked me to be his date to the donor event 2 weeks ago, before I knew the full truth about him. I said yes because I didn't know better at the time. He's probably still assuming I'm coming with him as his +1, that I'll be on his arm helping him look good in front of donors and campaign people, and you're going to show up, but not with him. Monica, exactly. I'm listed independently on the sponsor table for my company. We're one of the corporate sponsors for the event, so I have completely legitimate professional reasons to be there. He'll see me there and panic because he won't know what I'm planning to do or say. The uncertainty alone will make him paranoid all evening. Lauren, I like it. The psychological pressure of not knowing what's coming is sometimes worse than the actual confrontation. He'll be on edge the entire night. I typed, okay, so the plan for Saturday is this. Monica, you show up at the event as a professional sponsor representative from your company, not as Travis's date. Don't tell him you're coming. Just appear. Lauren, you show up as a legitimate donor guest using your own resources. I'll show up with the hospital donor contingent that Jessica's part of. Travis sees all three of us there independently, doesn't know we're coordinated, doesn't know what any of us might do. The uncertainty will eat at him all night. Lauren. And then we coordinate the confrontation after his speech when he's most visible and when everyone's attention is already focused on him. Monica. He's scheduled to speak at 8:30. 5-minute presentation thanking donors and talking about campaign strategy and voter outreach. Standard consultant stuff. Perfect. We move right after he finishes. When he's still on stage or just stepping down, when the crowd's attention is already on him and he can't escape or minimize the situation. We spent another hour refining details, planning exactly what each person would say, how we'd present documentation if anyone challenged us, what we'd do if Travis tried to shut us down or claim we were making things up or acting out of jealousy, how we'd handle security if they tried to remove us for causing a disturbance. Lauren was thorough, professional. She'd clearly thought through every angle from a legal and strategic perspective. Monica was angry but controlled. She wanted Travis to face real consequences, not just feel momentarily embarrassed. And I wanted Jessica to see in the most public way possible exactly who she'd been risking our marriage for. By the time I closed my laptop, it was past midnight. My eyes were tired, but my mind was clear. The plan was solid, comprehensive, ready. 3 more days until Saturday. 3 more days until Travis Cole's entire carefully constructed professional life collapsed in front of everyone who mattered to his career. 3 more days until Jessica understood what it felt like when the floor disappeared beneath her feet. Thursday morning, I woke up to find Jessica already gone. Her car wasn't in the driveway. A note on the kitchen counter said, "Early meeting. Don't wait for me for dinner tonight. Working late." I texted her, "Okay," Have a good day. No response for 2 hours. Then finally, thanks. You too. I went to work. The morning was consumed by contractor issues. One of the electrical subcontractors had completely missed an inspection deadline, which meant we had to reschedule and potentially delay other trades that were waiting to start their work in the same area. I spent 2 hours on the phone sorting it out, calling in favors, rearranging schedules, doing the invisible coordination work that kept construction projects from turning into complete disasters. At lunch, Tom Garrison stopped by my office. Knocked on the door frame even though the door was open. "Hey, Andrew, got a minute?" "Yeah, sure. What's up?" He came in and closed the door behind him, which immediately told me this wasn't about work. Tom didn't close doors for work conversations. He sat down in the chair across from my desk, looked uncomfortable, shifted his weight, clearly trying to figure out how to say something he didn't want to say. "Look, I don't know how to bring this up, and honestly, it's none of my business, but I figured you should know that people are talking." "About what?" I asked, though I had a pretty good idea. "About Jessica, and some guy she's apparently seeing. I don't know all the details, and frankly I don't want to know them, but I figured someone should tell you that the gossip's spreading through the hospital. Multiple departments." I kept my face carefully neutral. "Who's talking?" "Couple people in her department initially. Word is someone saw her and this guy having lunch together at that Italian place on 5th Street downtown, the nice one with the outdoor seating. They looked pretty cozy, apparently, sitting close, touching hands across the table, that kind of thing. Then someone else mentioned seeing them leave the medical arts building together a few days ago, getting into the same car. Wednesday afternoon, after the towing incident. They must have left together after Travis got his Uber, or maybe she gave him a ride later after all." "And people are talking about this openly?" I asked. Tom nodded. "Not loudly, not where management can hear. But yeah, the gossip's circulating. You know how hospitals are. Everyone knows everyone else's business within about 48 hours. He paused. "I'm sorry, man. I figured you'd want to know what people are saying behind your back." "I appreciate you telling me, Tom. I really do." "You doing okay?" "I'm fine. Really." Tom didn't look entirely convinced, but nodded. "All right. But if you need anything, or if you just want to grab a beer sometime and not talk about any of this, let me know. Sometimes it helps just to get out of your own head for a couple hours." "Thanks. I'll keep that in mind." After Tom left, I sat at my desk thinking about the gossip spreading through the hospital like a virus. Jessica's reputation was already taking damage, and she probably didn't even know it yet. People were noticing, talking, making judgments. Her carefully maintained professional image was starting to crack at the edges. Good. Friday afternoon brought another development. I got a text from Jessica around 3. "Going to Karen's tonight after work. Girls' night, wine and terrible movies. Don't wait up for me," I responded. "Have fun. Drive safe." Then I immediately texted the group chat. "Jessica's going to Karen's tonight for girls' night. Anyone want to bet Travis is conveniently free tonight too?" "Lauren, I'd bet money on it. Want me to check his location?" "No. We don't need to follow them tonight. We already have what we need from Lakewood. Tonight doesn't matter. Let them think they're getting away with it. Let them feel comfortable and safe. Monica, save all our energy for tomorrow night." "Exactly. Tomorrow's what matters. Everything else is just noise at this point." "Lauren, agreed. I'm staying in tonight. Early to bed. I want to be sharp and focused tomorrow. Same here." Friday night, I ordered pizza. Watched a movie I'd been meaning to see for months. Went to bed at 10. Slept better than I had in weeks because I knew what was coming. Because the waiting was almost over. Saturday morning, Jessica was up early. I heard her in the bathroom at 7, blow-drying her hair. Heard her on the phone at 8, confirming her hair appointment. Heard her leave at 8:30, calling out a quick goodbye that I responded to from the kitchen. She'd bought a new dress earlier in the week. Dark blue, elegant, expensive. The kind of dress you wore when you wanted to make an impression, when you wanted to look sophisticated and attractive and successful. I'd seen it hanging in the closet. Probably cost $400. She'd used our joint credit card to buy it. I'd noted the charge, added it to the mental list of things I'd address when we got to asset division in the divorce. "Big night tonight," I'd said over coffee that morning. She'd glanced at me, trying to read my tone. "It's an important event. The hospital's trying to build stronger relationships with the new state Senate campaign. Political connections matter in healthcare. We need to represent the organization well." "Makes sense. Big turnout expected?" "Yeah, should be around 300 people. Donors, local business leaders, some state representatives. Pretty high profile." "You'll do great. You're good at these networking events." She'd smiled at that, pleased by the compliment, not realizing I was thinking about how good she was at performing, at presenting a false image, at making people think she was something she wasn't. "What are you doing tonight?" she'd asked, sipping her coffee. "Probably just watch the game. Order some food, relax, quiet night at home." "Sounds nice and peaceful." "Yeah, simple pleasures." She'd nodded and gone back to her phone, planning her outfit, texting Karen probably, maybe texting Travis, coordinating arrival times, making sure they didn't look too obviously connected. After she left for her appointments, I texted the group chat. She just left, getting ready for tonight. No idea I'll be there. Lauren. Same situation here. Travis thinks I'm spending the evening at my sister's house 2 hours away. He has no clue I'm coming to the event. Monica. I'm getting ready now. This feels surreal, like we're preparing for battle. We are preparing for battle. Just a different kind. No weapons, no violence, just truth and consequences. I spent the afternoon getting ready carefully, showered, shaved with precision, put on my best suit, the charcoal gray one tailored perfectly, the one I'd worn to our wedding 6 years ago. The irony wasn't lost on me. At 4:30, I sent Jessica a text. "Heading out to meet Tom for that dinner we planned. Have a great time tonight." She responded, "You too. Don't let him talk you into too many beers." "I won't. Be safe." I left the house, drove downtown to the Grandview Hotel. The sun was still up, the early evening light making the city look clean and golden. I parked in the attached garage on the 3rd level, far enough from the entrance that I wouldn't run into Jessica if she was parking at the same time. Walked into the hotel lobby. It was impressive. High ceilings, marble floors, fresh flowers on every surface. The kind of place that hosted important events for important people. The ballroom was on the 2nd floor. Through the glass doors, I could already see event staff setting up. Round tables draped in white linens, elaborate centerpieces. A raised stage at the far end with professional lighting rigs and a podium with the campaign logo. It looked expensive, official, exactly the kind of place where reputations were made, or destroyed. I found a quiet corner of the lobby with a view of the main entrance and the elevators, sat down in a leather armchair, pulled out my phone and pretended to work while I waited. At 6:35, Lauren arrived. She looked completely different than I'd ever seen her before. Her hair was styled in soft waves that looked effortless, but probably took an hour. Makeup done expertly, subtle but polished. She was wearing a fitted black dress that was elegant without being flashy, professional without being boring. She looked powerful, confident, dangerous in the best way. She spotted me in the lobby, walked over casually, sat down in the chair next to mine like we just happened to end up in the same waiting area. "You ready for this?" she asked quietly, not looking at me directly. "As ready as I'm going to be." "Second thoughts?" "No. You?" "Not even a little." She pulled out her phone, checked a message. "Monica texted 5 minutes ago. She's already upstairs. Got here early to scope out the room layout, figure out positioning, see where Travis is setting up." "And Travis?" "I saw him when I came in through the main doors. He's near the registration table in the lobby, greeting early arrivals, shaking hands with donors, playing his role perfectly, smiling, charming, acting like he owns the room." "That's about to change permanently." "Yes, it is." We sat there for another 15 minutes, watching people arrive, men in expensive suits, women in cocktail dresses and designer heels, politicians with practiced smiles, business owners, the kind of people who networked professionally, who made deals over wine, who traded favors and connections like currency. At 7:03, Jessica arrived. I saw her walk through the main entrance with her hospital group. 6 people total. Karen was there, of course, wearing something bright and attention-seeking. There was Dr. Patterson, one of the senior physicians, Margaret from development, a couple others I recognized vaguely, and Jessica in the middle of the group, laughing at something Karen had just said, looking relaxed and beautiful and completely unaware of what was coming. She hadn't seen me yet. The hospital group moved toward the registration table, showed their tickets, got directed toward the ballroom entrance. Jessica was talking animatedly with Karen, probably gossiping about someone, both of them smiling like they shared secrets. I watched them disappear through the ballroom doors, waited 2 minutes, then stood up. "Time to go in?" Lauren stood with me. "Let's do this." We walked to the ballroom entrance separately, maintaining the appearance that we didn't know each other. She went through first, showing her ticket to the staff member at the door, getting directed to her assigned table. I followed 30 seconds later, showing my hospital donor ticket, getting directed to a different table. The ballroom was even more impressive up close. High ceilings with detailed crown molding, 3 massive crystal chandeliers that probably cost more than my truck. Round tables set for 10 with white linens, fine china, elaborate floral centerpieces that must have cost hundreds each. Professional lighting focused on the stage, a large projection screen behind the podium showing the campaign logo and some inspirational message about leadership and community. Maybe 250 people already inside, milling around, networking, the low hum of professional conversation, deals being discussed, connections being made, the machinery of politics and business grinding along smoothly. I found my assigned table. Number 17, positioned on the left side of the room with a decent view of the stage. Far enough from Jessica's table that she wouldn't spot me immediately, but close enough that I could see her clearly. Lauren was at table 8, much closer to the stage, positioned perfectly for what came next. Monica was at table 3, right up front. Corporate sponsor seating. Prime location. Travis was still working the room, moving from group to group with practiced ease, shaking hands, making small talk, laughing at jokes, introducing people to each other, playing the consummate professional consultant. He looked confident, comfortable, in control. He hadn't noticed any of us yet. I sat down at my assigned table, introduced myself to the other people already seated, a retired couple who donated to the hospital foundation, a local business owner who manufactured medical equipment, a woman who ran a healthcare advocacy nonprofit. Nice people making polite conversation while we waited for dinner service to start. At 7:45, dinner service began. Servers moved efficiently through the room, placing salads at each seat. Standard fundraiser food. Choice of chicken or salmon for the main course. Roasted vegetables, tasteful plating. Nothing remarkable, but nothing offensive. I barely tasted any of it. My mind was elsewhere. Across the room, I watched Jessica at her table. She was animated, engaged, talking with Karen and the others, looking like she belonged there, like she was having a great time at an important professional event. Travis stopped by her table once during dinner. Brief? Just long enough to smile, make some comment that made the whole table laugh, touched Jessica's shoulder lightly as he passed. The gesture was subtle, quick, but it was there. A signal, a reminder, a connection visible only if you knew to look for it. Karen leaned over and whispered something to Jessica that made her blush slightly. Then they both laughed. I felt that cold anger settling deeper in my chest. Not hot rage that made you act stupidly, cold calculation that made you act strategically. At 8:15, the speaking program started. The campaign manager took the podium first, welcomed everyone, thanked the donors, made the standard speech about how important this election was, how much they appreciated the support, how together they were building something meaningful. Polite applause at the appropriate moments. Then the Senate candidate himself spoke. Standard political fare, values and leadership and bringing people together, fighting for hardworking families, making government work for everyone, the usual promises that sounded good and rarely materialized. More applause, longer this time, supportive. At 8:28, the campaign manager returned to the podium. Before we continue, I want to take a moment to recognize someone who's been absolutely instrumental to our success. Our campaign consultant, Travis Cole, has brought strategic expertise and donor outreach that's made a real, measurable difference in this race. Travis, would you come up here and say a few words? Applause erupted. Travis stood from his table near the front, buttoned his suit jacket with practiced smoothness, walked confidently to the stage with that easy smile that made people trust him. He took the microphone from the campaign manager, waited for the applause to fade, smiled at the crowd. Thank you, Jennifer. That's very kind, and thank you all for being here tonight. Honestly, it's nights like this that remind me exactly why I do this work. He launched into his prepared remarks, smooth, polished, talking about campaign strategy in broad terms that sounded intelligent without revealing anything specific, discussing voter outreach and community engagement and the importance of grassroots organizing. He thanked specific donors by name, making each one feel recognized and valued. He made a self-deprecating joke about the challenges of modern campaigns that got genuine laughs from the crowd. He ended with an inspirational line about building the kind of future we all wanted for our children and grandchildren. Professional, charismatic, convincing, the kind of performance that made people believe in him, made them want to support what he was selling. The applause when he finished was enthusiastic, real. He'd won the room. He thanked everyone again, handed the microphone back to the campaign manager, started to step down from the stage. That's when Lauren stood up. She didn't rush, didn't make a scene initially. She just stood up from her table with calm, deliberate precision and started walking toward the stage. Every eye in the nearby area started following her movement. People sensed something was happening but didn't know what yet. Travis, she said. Her voice was clear, steady, projected naturally without being loud, the kind of voice that commanded attention. He stopped mid-step, turned, saw her. The color drained from his face instantly, complete white, like he'd seen a nightmare materialize in front of 300 people. Lauren, what are you doing here? I'm here to introduce myself to all these wonderful people you've been working with. She stopped about 10 feet from the stage, looked around at the crowd with perfect composure. Hi, everyone. My name is Lauren Cole. I'm Travis's wife. The room went quiet. That sudden, complete quiet that happens when something unexpected crashes violently into a formal event. Conversation stopped mid-sentence. Glasses paused halfway to lips. Everyone's attention locked onto the unfolding scene. Travis forced a smile, tried desperately to recover his composure. Lauren, this really isn't the appropriate time or place. She cut him off smoothly. Actually, I think this is exactly the appropriate time and place, because all of you should know who you're really working with, who you've hired to represent your campaign. People were staring now, uncomfortable, confused, looking between Travis on the stage and Lauren standing in the middle of the ballroom. The campaign manager looked panicked. The Senate candidate had frozen near the podium. Travis has been telling everyone that we're separated, Lauren continued. Her voice remained perfectly calm, professional, like she was delivering a presentation. That our marriage is essentially over, that he's practically single, that we're just waiting for the right time to finalize paperwork. Is that what you've been saying, Travis? Travis stepped down from the stage quickly, tried to approach her, tried to move this conversation away from the microphone, away from the crowd. Lauren, please, we can discuss this privately. No, we can't, because you've been lying to me for years, and you've been lying to all these people too. She gestured to the crowd. We're not separated. We live together in the same house. We share finances. We're married legally, financially, emotionally, in every way that actually matters. Lauren, you're making a scene. Good. You deserve a scene. You've earned it. That's when Monica stood up from her table near the front. She rose with the same deliberate calm Lauren had shown. All eyes swiveled toward her now. The room was riveted. She's absolutely right, Monica said. Her voice was clear, professional, carrying easily through the stunned silence. Travis told me the exact same story, word for word, that he was separated, that his marriage was over, that he was just waiting for the right time to officially end it. He's been seeing me for over a year. Travis's face went from white to red. His expression shifted rapidly through panic and anger and desperation. You can't just, this is completely... I can, Monica interrupted, and I am. Because every single person in this room deserves to know that the consultant you hired is a liar who runs multiple affairs simultaneously and uses campaign finances to cover his personal expenses. The campaign manager stepped forward, hands raised like she could somehow restore order. Okay, everyone, let's just calm down, and... There's documentation, Lauren said. She pulled out her phone, held it up so people nearby could see she wasn't bluffing. Bank statements showing Travis booking hotel rooms and cabin rentals under his business account while claiming they were client meetings or campaign research trips. Text messages where he lies about his whereabouts to multiple people. Emails where he tells different women different versions of his life story depending on what he thinks they want to hear. She looked directly at the crowd, made eye contact with people at various tables. Anyone want to see proof? I have 2 years of comprehensive documentation, dates, locations, receipts, messages, all of it backed up and verified and ready to present. The room was completely silent now, the kind of silence that felt heavy, oppressive, like the air itself had thickened. Travis looked around desperately, scanning faces, looking for allies, for someone who would defend him, for an escape route. His eyes swept across the room, and that's when he spotted Jessica. And Jessica was staring at him with an expression that would haunt me forever in the best possible way. Complete shock, betrayal, understanding crashing down like a controlled demolition. Because she was realizing, in real time, in front of 300 people, that she wasn't special, that she wasn't the exception, that she wasn't his one true love who he was leaving his terrible marriage for. She was just another woman in a pattern, another affair, another lie. That's when I stood up from my table. I didn't walk toward the stage. I walked toward Jessica's table, slow, deliberate, every step measured. People nearby noticed, turned to watch. The attention started shifting toward our corner of the room. Jessica saw me moving. Her eyes went wide, impossibly wide. Andrew? Her voice was barely audible. What are you doing here? I stopped next to her table, looked down at her, kept my voice quiet but clear enough for everyone at her table to hear. I've known for weeks, Jessica, about Lakewood, about Travis, about all of it. Every trip, every lie, every time you told me you had a work conference while you were actually spending the weekend with him. Karen's mouth fell open. The other people at the table were staring at Jessica now. Dr. Patterson looked mortified. Jessica's face drained of all color. Andrew, I can explain. You don't need to explain. I have photos, receipts, witness statements, timeline documentation going back 4 months. I know exactly where you were, who you were with, and what you were doing. I paused. I know everything. Andrew, please, not here. You told me to deal with your ex being in your life, I said. My voice stayed level, cold, each word precisely chosen. Remember, at that dinner party, you looked me in the eye and told me your ex was still in your life and I needed to deal with it, like it was an order, like I had no choice but to accept it. She stared at me, silent now, trapped. So I dealt with it. I continued. I documented it. I verified it. I built an ironclad case, and then I reached out to the one person who had as much reason as I did to want the truth exposed. I looked toward Lauren, who was still standing near the stage, still holding her ground while Travis tried desperately to salvage the unsalvageable. You picked your ex, I said to Jessica. Quiet. Final. So I picked his wife. I let that sink in for exactly 3 seconds. Perfect deal, right? I said. Then I turned and walked away. Headed toward the exit. Didn't look back. Didn't wait to see her reaction. Behind me, chaos erupted. Travis's voice raised and desperate. She's lying. They're both lying. This is some kind of coordinated attack. Lauren's voice, still calm. I have documentation that proves every word I've said. Would you like me to start showing people your text messages? The ones where you told me you were working late while you were actually with Monica? Or the ones where you told Monica you were visiting your sick mother while you were with someone else entirely? Monica's voice. I can also provide my phone. Show everyone the messages, the promises, the lies, all of it. I have nothing to hide and nothing to lose at this point. Multiple voices now, people demanding explanations. The campaign manager trying to restore order and failing. The Senate candidate looking absolutely horrified as his carefully planned fundraiser disintegrated into public scandal. And Jessica. Jessica calling my name. Andrew, wait. I didn't wait. I walked out of the ballroom, through the lobby, past the registration desk, out the main entrance into the cool night air. My hands were shaking violently. My heart was pounding so hard I could feel it in my throat, hear it in my ears. My breath came in short gasps. But underneath the adrenaline, underneath the physical reaction, I felt something I hadn't felt in months. Freedom. Liberation from pretending. Liberation from playing a role. Liberation from being the dependable husband who watched his wife lie to his face and smile while doing it. I got in my truck, started the engine, sat there with my hands gripping the steering wheel. My phone started buzzing immediately. Text messages piling up. Phone calls, notifications cascading faster than I could process. I didn't look at any of them. I just drove. Away from downtown, away from the hotel, away from Jessica and Travis and the spectacular public collapse I'd helped engineer. I drove to a hotel on the other side of the city, a chain place, nothing fancy, checked in at the front desk, paid cash, used my real name because I had nothing to hide anymore. The clerk barely looked at me, just took my money, handed me a key card, pointed toward the elevators. Room 214, small, clean, generic. I locked the door behind me, set my phone on the nightstand without looking at the screen, sat on the edge of the bed. And finally, for the first time in months, I let myself feel the full weight of everything that had just happened. I woke up Sunday morning to 143 notifications on my phone. Text messages, missed calls, voicemails I wasn't going to listen to, a dozen emails, multiple social media notifications from platforms I barely used. I scrolled through them slowly, coffee in hand, sitting on the edge of the hotel bed. Most were from Jessica. The messages had started around 9:30 Saturday night, about an hour after I'd left the donor event. Where did you go? We need to talk, Andrew. Please answer. This isn't what it looks like, Andrew. I'm serious. We need to talk now. Please just tell me where you are. I can explain everything if you just give me a chance. The messages got more desperate as the night progressed. By midnight, Andrew, I know you're reading these. Please respond. By 2 a.m. Fine, don't respond. But we are going to talk about this. By 6 a.m., I'm staying at Karen's. Call me when you're ready to have an adult conversation. I deleted all of them without responding. There were texts from Karen, too. Variations of, "How could you do this to her?" and "You embarrassed her in front of everyone," and "She's devastated." I deleted those too. A few messages from colleagues who'd been at the event, mostly asking if I was okay. Tom sent one that just said, "Holy hell, man. You need anything?" I responded to that one. "I'm fine. Taking a personal day tomorrow. Thanks for checking in." There were calls from unknown numbers, probably reporters or people wanting gossip. I blocked them, and one message from Richard Kepler, my lawyer, sent at 11 p.m. Saturday. Saw what happened. Multiple people sent me video. Call me Monday morning. I think we should move forward with filing immediately. I replied to that one. Agreed. I'll call you first thing Monday. Then I opened the group chat with Lauren and Monica. Lauren had sent a message at 10 p.m. "Are you okay?" That was intense. More intense than I expected. Monica at 10:30. The campaign fired Travis on the spot. Security escorted him out. It was brutal. Lauren at 11. Multiple people asked me for copies of the documentation. I showed them enough to prove I wasn't lying. Travis's reputation is completely destroyed. I finally typed a response. "I'm fine. Staying at a hotel tonight. Need some space to process everything." Lauren. Understandable. Let me know if you need anything. Monica. That took courage. What you did. Not many people would have the guts to walk away like that. It didn't feel like courage. It felt like survival. I spent Sunday in the hotel room, ordered room service, watched television without really seeing it, let my mind go quiet for the first time in months. No planning, no strategizing, no thinking 3 moves ahead. Just silence. Monday morning, I called Richard at 8:30. "Andrew, how are you holding up?" "I'm okay. Surprisingly okay, actually." "Good, because we need to move fast now. The public nature of what happened Saturday works heavily in your favor, but we need to file before Jessica can construct a counter-narrative." "What do you need from me?" "Can you come to my office this afternoon, 2 o'clock? We'll get all the paperwork prepared and filed by end of day." "I'll be there." At 2 o'clock, I sat in Richard's office signing documents. Petition for dissolution of marriage, citing irreconcilable differences. Indiana was a no-fault state, which meant I didn't technically have to prove adultery, but Richard had attached documentation anyway as supporting evidence for asset division. Photos from Lakewood, receipts, timeline documentation, witness statements from Tom and others who'd seen Jessica with Travis. "This is comprehensive," Richard said, reviewing the file. "If she tries to fight the asset division or claim you're being vindictive, we have everything we need to show the court exactly what happened and who caused the marriage to fail." "When will she be served?" "Wednesday. I'm using a professional process server. They'll deliver it to her at work. Mid-morning, professional setting, completely legal and by the book." "She's going to lose it." "Probably. But that's not your problem anymore. Your job is to stay calm, don't engage with her directly, let me handle all communication through proper legal channels." "I can do that." I signed the last page. Richard collected all the documents, organized them into a file folder. "One more thing," he said. "Prepare yourself emotionally. This is when she'll either try to win you back with promises and tears, or try to destroy your reputation by painting you as the villain. Maybe both. Stay calm. Stay focused. Don't give her ammunition." "Understood." I left Richard's office feeling lighter, like I just dropped a weight I'd been carrying for months. Tuesday, I went back to work. People stared, whispered when they thought I couldn't hear. A few brave colleagues came by my office to express support or ask if I was okay. Tom stopped by during lunch, closed the door, sat down. "That was the most intense thing I've ever seen at a professional event," he said. "Half the hospital's talking about it." I figured. "You doing all right?" "Yeah, better than I expected, actually." He nodded slowly. "For what it's worth, I think you did the right thing. Maybe not the easy thing, but the right thing. She was making a fool of you publicly for months. You just returned the favor once." "That's one way to look at it." "It's the right way. You want to grab that beer this week? Might help to talk about something other than work and drama." "Yeah, Thursday night?" "Thursday works. I'll text you." Tuesday afternoon, I got a message from Lauren. "Travis filed for divorce this morning. I was served an hour ago. How do you feel? Relieved, angry, vindicated, all of it at once." "Same." Monica sent a message to the group chat. "My husband and I are in couples therapy, working through it. It's hard, but we're trying. Thank you both for helping me find the courage to tell the truth. I'm glad. You deserved better than Travis's lies." We all did. Wednesday morning, I was in a meeting with contractors when my phone buzzed with a text from Richard. She's been served. Process server confirmed successful delivery at 10:47 a.m. She signed for it. No incidents. I texted back, "Thanks for the update." 20 minutes later, my phone started ringing. "Jessica." I declined the call. She called again. Declined. Again. Declined. Then the texts started flooding in. "You can't just end our marriage like this. I deserve a chance to explain. This is revenge, and you know it. You're being cruel. We can work through this if you just talk to me." I didn't respond to any of them. At lunch, Karen called. I let it go to voicemail. She left a message I didn't listen to. At 3 p.m., Jessica showed up at my office. I was on a call with a vendor when my assistant knocked on the door. "Andrew, your wife is here. She says it's urgent." I covered the phone mic. "Tell her I'm busy. Tell her to contact my lawyer if she needs to communicate about the divorce." "She says she's not leaving until you talk to her." "Then call security. I don't want to talk to her." My assistant's eyes went wide, but she nodded and left. I finished my vendor call. 5 minutes later, my assistant returned. Security escorted her out. She wasn't happy about it. "Thanks for handling that. Are you okay?" "I'm fine. Really." After work, I went back to the hotel where I'd been staying. I'd checked out Sunday, but checked back in Monday under a weekly rate. It was easier than going home and dealing with Jessica's inevitable attempts to corner me there. Wednesday evening, Richard called. Her lawyer reached out. They want to negotiate a reconciliation period before moving forward with the divorce. Standard opening move. They're claiming you're acting rashly, not giving the marriage a fair chance to be saved. "No reconciliation. Move forward with the divorce." I told them you'd say that. They're going to push back hard. Try to paint you as vindictive, claim you orchestrated a public humiliation, and now you're trying to destroy her life further. Let them. I have documentation showing she cheated for months, that she lied repeatedly, that she spent our money on her affair. The public confrontation wouldn't have been necessary if she'd been honest at any point. "That's exactly what I'll tell them." He paused. "They're also threatening to subpoena your communications with Lauren and Monica. Try to prove you conspired to defame Travis. Everything we did was based on documented facts. Truth isn't defamation." "Correct. And I'll make sure they understand that. But prepare yourself for this to get uglier before it gets better." Thursday, I met Tom for beers at a quiet bar on the north side of town. "So," he said after we'd both gotten our drinks, "want to talk about it or pretend it never happened?" "Honestly, I'm kind of tired of talking about it." "Fair enough. Baseball?" "Baseball's good." We spent 2 hours talking about the upcoming season, about work, about anything except my imploding marriage. It was exactly what I needed. Friday afternoon, I finally went back to the house. Jessica's car wasn't there. I'd timed it deliberately. Friday afternoon, she usually had department meetings that ran until 5:30. I packed quickly, clothes, toiletries, my laptop and important files, the few personal items that mattered to me, left everything else, the furniture, the dishes, the decorations, all the accumulated stuff of a shared life that didn't mean anything anymore. I was loading the last box into my truck when Jessica's car pulled into the driveway. She got out fast, walked toward me. "Andrew, finally, we need to talk." "No, we don't. Talk to my lawyer." "I'm not signing the divorce papers." "You don't have to. Indiana law doesn't require your consent after a certain point. The divorce will proceed with or without your cooperation. This is revenge, Andrew. You're doing this to punish me." I set the box in the truck bed, turned to face her. "No, Jessica. This is consequences. There's a difference. I made a mistake. One mistake. People make mistakes." "You didn't make a mistake," I said calmly. "You made choices, repeatedly, for months. You chose Travis over and over again. You chose to lie to me. You chose to spend our money on your affair. You chose to humiliate me publicly at that dinner party when you told me to deal with your ex being in your life. Those weren't mistakes. Those were decisions." "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Can't that mean anything?" "I'm sure you are sorry, but sorry doesn't fix this. Sorry doesn't rebuild trust that's been completely destroyed. Sorry doesn't change what happened." "What do you want from me?" Her voice broke. "Nothing. I don't want anything from you anymore. That's the point." I got in my truck, started the engine. Jessica stood there in the driveway. "Where are you going?" "I've got an apartment across town. My lawyer has the address if you need to send legal documents." "So that's it? 6 years and you just walk away?" "You walked away months ago, Jessica. I'm just making it official." I backed out of the driveway. She stood there watching me leave, tears running down her face. I felt nothing No guilt, no sadness, no regret. Just clean, cold certainty that I'd done exactly what needed to be done. The divorce took 4 months to finalize. 4 months of lawyers exchanging documents, 4 months of negotiating asset division, 4 months of Jessica trying every tactic imaginable to delay or complicate the process. But by late March, it was done. The house sold, assets divided according to Indiana law, all the paperwork signed and filed and officially recorded. Marriage dissolved. I moved into a new apartment in a different part of the city, smaller than the house, quieter, clean, mine. 1 bedroom, 1 bathroom, a small kitchen, a living room with windows that looked out at the city skyline, furnished simply. No memories attached to any of the furniture or decorations. A fresh start. Lauren's divorce from Travis finalized around the same time. She texted me when it was official. Finally free. Starting over. "Thank you for everything," I responded. "Same here. Good luck with whatever comes next." Monica had reconciled with her husband. They'd stayed together, working through the betrayal and couples therapy. She sent me a message in February. "We're making it work. It's hard, but we're both committed. Thank you for helping me see the truth so I could deal with it honestly." Travis had left the state. Last I heard, he'd moved to Arizona or Nevada, somewhere far from his destroyed reputation. His consulting business had collapsed completely. The campaign he'd been working on had not only fired him, but publicly distanced themselves from him in press statements. His career was over, at least in this region. Maybe he'd rebuild somewhere else. Maybe not. I didn't care enough to find out. Jessica had moved to Indianapolis, left the hospital, left the city, started over somewhere nobody knew about the scandal. Karen had stopped speaking to me entirely after that night, which was fine. I'd never liked her anyway. She'd enabled Jessica's affair, encouraged it, treated the whole thing like it was entertainment. Good riddance. It was late March, early evening. I was sitting in my apartment looking out at the city lights, drinking coffee, thinking about everything that had happened since that dinner party when Jessica told me to deal with her ex being in my life. My phone buzzed. Text from Tom. "Beer tomorrow night?" I smiled. Typed back, "Yeah, sounds good." Life was moving forward. Slowly, carefully, but forward. I'd spent 6 years building a life with someone who didn't value it, who didn't value me, who treated our marriage like something disposable, something she could ignore whenever something more exciting came along. And when I'd finally stopped being the foundation she stood on, when I'd finally pulled away all the invisible work I'd been doing to hold her comfortable life together, everything had collapsed exactly the way I knew it would. The revenge hadn't been dramatic in the traditional sense. It hadn't been violent. It hadn't been illegal. It had been systematic, strategic, documented, coordinated with people who'd been hurt by the same person. I'd gathered evidence carefully, built alliances with others who wanted truth and accountability, timed every move for maximum impact, made sure that when Travis and Jessica finally faced consequences, those consequences were public, permanent, and impossible to explain away. Not jail, not physical harm, just the slow, grinding destruction of reputation, professional networks, social status, and comfortable assumptions, the things they actually cared about. People who knew the whole story had opinions about what I'd done. Some thought I was justified, some thought I'd gone too far. Some thought both things simultaneously and couldn't reconcile the contradiction. I didn't care about their opinions, because I'd learned something fundamental through this whole process. Sometimes being the bigger person just means being the person who absorbs all the damage while everyone else walks away clean. Sometimes turning the other cheek just means offering more surface area to be hit. And sometimes, not always, but sometimes, the right thing to do is make absolutely certain that the people who hurt you face real, lasting consequences for their actions. Not revenge for revenge's sake. Accountability. I finished my coffee, rinsed the mug, set it in the dish rack to dry. My phone buzzed again. Message from Richard. "Final paperwork is officially filed and recorded with the court. You're done. Congratulations on getting through this." I stared at that word. Congratulations. It felt strange, but also appropriate. I typed back, "Thanks for everything. You made this process much cleaner than it could have been." His response, "You made my job easy by staying calm and strategic. Most people let emotions drive their decisions and make everything harder. You never did." I set my phone down, walked to the window, looked out at the city. Somewhere out there, Jessica was probably telling people her version of events, painting herself as the victim, claiming I was controlling or vindictive or cold. Let her. The people who mattered knew the truth, had seen the documentation, had watched her behavior in real time, and the people who believed her version without evidence weren't people I needed in my life anyway. I'd burned down the comfortable life we'd built together, methodically, deliberately, without hesitation, because some structures deserve to collapse, and some people need to learn what it feels like when the foundation they've been standing on disappears without warning. Jessica had told me to deal with her ex being in her life. I had dealt with it, by coordinating with his wife, by documenting everything, by waiting for exactly the right moment to reveal the truth in the most public way possible. You picked your ex, I'd told her that night, so I picked his wife. Perfect deal. The aftermath continued in waves through April and May. The story had spread beyond just the people who'd been at the donor event. Social media had picked it up. Local news blogs had written about it, not major outlets, but enough to keep it circulating. Political consultant exposed in public confrontation had been the most common headline. Someone had posted video from the event. Multiple angles, different phones. You could watch the whole thing unfold from various perspectives. Travis approaching Lauren, Lauren's calm confrontation, Monica standing up, the visible collapse of Travis's composure in real time, and then the part where I'd walked to Jessica's table and delivered that final line before walking out. The video had thousands of views, hundreds of comments arguing about whether what we'd done was justified or cruel or both. I never watched the full video, I'd lived it. That was enough. But other people watched it, and talked about it, and had opinions. April brought complications I hadn't fully anticipated. Jessica's lawyer filed motions trying to overturn parts of the asset division, claiming I'd engaged in financial abuse by moving money before filing for divorce, claiming the public confrontation constituted emotional distress that entitled her to additional compensation. Richard shut all of it down. She has no case, he told me during a phone call. You moved your own income into your own accounts. That's not financial abuse. That's protecting your assets during a marriage breakdown. And the public confrontation was based entirely on factual information that she couldn't dispute. Truth isn't emotional abuse. Will any of this delay the finalization? No. Judge already signed off on everything. These are desperate motions that won't go anywhere. Her lawyer's just trying to give her what she paid for. May brought an unexpected message. I was at work, reviewing contractor schedules, when my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. This is Heather Dunn. You don't know me, but we have something in common. Can we talk? I stared at the name. It sounded familiar, but I couldn't place it immediately. Then I remembered. Monica had mentioned her months ago. Heather Dunn worked for the campaign Travis had been consulting on. Monica said she'd been sleeping with Travis too. I called Lauren. Did someone named Heather Dunn ever reach out to you? No. Who is she? Another one of Travis's affairs, according to Monica. She just texted me asking to talk. What are you going to do? I don't know yet. Part of me thinks I should just ignore it. This isn't my problem anymore. But part of me wonders what she wants. Your call, but be careful. Could be someone trying to gather information to help Travis rebuild his reputation somehow. I thought about it for an hour, then texted back. What do you want to talk about? Her response came quickly. I want to thank you. What you did at the donor event destroyed Travis professionally. He deserved it. He lied to me too. Told me he was leaving his wife. Told me I was special. I believed him for 8 months before I figured out the truth. By then, the campaign had already hired him, and I couldn't say anything without destroying my own career. When you and Lauren exposed him publicly, it freed me from having to pretend anymore. I read that twice, then typed, You don't need to thank me. I wasn't doing it for you, I know, but it helped me anyway. So thank you. I didn't respond after that. Just set my phone down and went back to work. But I thought about her message for the rest of the day. How many women had Travis lied to? How many people had he hurt while building his image as a successful consultant? Lauren and Monica and Jessica and Heather. 4 that I knew about. There were probably others, all of them believing they were special, all of them being told the same lies, all of them kept carefully separate so nobody compared notes until it was too late. That's what made the public confrontation so devastating for Travis. Not just that he got caught, but that all his separate lies crashed together simultaneously in front of everyone who mattered to his career. No way to explain. No way to spin it. Just complete, total exposure. Late May, I ran into Tom at the hospital cafeteria. Hey, he said, sitting down at my table. Haven't seen you much lately. Been busy? Lots of contractor coordination as we get closer to completion on the expansion. How are you doing, generally? Post-divorce? Good, actually. Better than I expected. He nodded. You seem different. More relaxed, maybe, less stressed. I probably am. Turns out living honestly is less exhausting than pretending everything's fine when it isn't. Makes sense. He ate some of his sandwich. People still talk about what happened at that fundraiser. Probably will for years. Yeah. For what it's worth, I think most people respect what you did. Not everyone agrees with the method, but most people respect the principle. Standing up for yourself, refusing to be a doormat, making people face consequences. That means something coming from you. Thanks. Just being honest. He finished his sandwich. You dating anyone yet? No. Too soon. Still processing everything. Fair enough. When you're ready, let me know. My wife has about 17 friends who'd probably be interested once they hear you're available. I laughed. I'll keep that in mind. June brought closure I didn't expect. I got a letter forwarded from my lawyer, from Jessica. Richard had opened it first per our agreement, reviewed it to make sure it wasn't some legal trap, then sent it to me with a note. Not a legal document, just a personal letter. Your call whether you read it. I almost threw it away without reading it. But curiosity won. The letter was handwritten. 3 pages. Jessica's neat, precise handwriting that I'd seen on birthday cards and grocery lists for 6 years. Andrew, I know you probably don't want to hear from me. I know I don't deserve any more of your time or attention, but I need to write this anyway, even if you throw it away without reading it. I'm sorry. I know I've said that before, and I know it doesn't change anything, but I need to say it again. I'm sorry for lying to you. I'm sorry for cheating. I'm sorry for treating you like you didn't matter. I'm sorry for humiliating you publicly and thinking it was funny. I've spent the last few months in therapy trying to understand why I did what I did, why I risked a good marriage for someone who turned out to be exactly what you probably knew he was all along. I don't have good answers. I was selfish. I was bored. I liked the attention. I liked feeling desired. I liked the excitement of something new, but none of that justifies what I did to you. You were a good husband. You did all the invisible work that kept our life running smoothly. You supported my career. You never complained when I stayed late or went out with friends. You gave me space and trust, and I threw all of that away for someone who was lying to multiple women simultaneously. I saw the video of what happened at the donor event. I watched Travis get exposed in front of everyone, and I realized something. You'd been planning that for weeks, maybe months. You'd been coordinating with Lauren and Monica. You'd been gathering evidence. You'd been staying calm and strategic while I thought I was getting away with everything. That's what scares me most looking back. Not your anger, your patience, the way you played a long game while I didn't even know we were playing. I don't expect forgiveness. I don't expect anything from you. I just wanted you to know that I understand now what I lost, and I'm sorry. I hope you find someone who deserves you. Jessica, I read it twice, then folded it carefully and put it in a drawer. It didn't change anything. Didn't make me feel better or worse. Didn't make me want to reconcile or punish her further. It was just words on paper from someone who used to matter to me and didn't anymore. I texted Richard. Got the letter. Read it. It's fine. Not responding. His reply? Probably smart. July brought unexpected peace. The expansion project at the hospital finished on schedule. Final inspections passed. Ribbon-cutting ceremony with hospital administrators and donors. Photo opportunities, handshakes, and congratulations. I stood in the new wing that I'd spent 3 years building and felt genuine pride in the work. This was real, tangible, something I'd built that would help people for decades. Not like a marriage, not like relationships that could dissolve when someone got bored or found someone more exciting. Actual infrastructure that worked according to principles and rules and wouldn't betray you if you turned your back for a moment. Tom came to the ribbon-cutting ceremony, clapped me on the shoulder afterward. You did good work here. Thanks. Team effort. Still, you kept it organized, kept everyone coordinated, made it happen. He paused. What's next for you? Another project? Probably. They're talking about an outpatient clinic expansion on the North Campus. 18 months if I take it. You going to? Yeah, I like building things. Knowing the rules, following procedures, seeing results. He smiled. Makes sense. That evening, I went back to my apartment, ordered takeout, sat by the window looking at the city lights. My phone buzzed. Message from Lauren. Saw your project completed. Congratulations. That's a real accomplishment. Thanks. How are you doing? Good. Started a new job last month. Compliance director for a different pharmaceutical company. Fresh start. That's great. Monica chimed in. Congratulations, Andrew. You deserve good things. We all do. August was quiet. Work, occasional beers with Tom, A few dates set up by well-meaning friends that went nowhere but weren't terrible. I wasn't looking for anything serious. Wasn't ready to trust someone with that much access to my life again. Maybe eventually, but not yet. September brought a full year since the donor event, since everything had collapsed publicly. I thought about sending a message to Lauren and Monica, some acknowledgement of the anniversary, but decided against it. We'd done what we needed to do, helped each other get free, moved on, no need to memorialize it. October brought an unexpected encounter. I was at a coffee shop on Saturday morning when someone sat down at the table next to mine, Monica Vance. We saw each other at the same moment, both surprised. Andrew. Monica, hi. Mind if I sit with you for a minute? Sure. She moved to my table, set down her coffee. How are you? She asked. Good. You? Good. My husband and I are doing well. Still in therapy, but making real progress. We're actually stronger now than we were before. Weird thing to say, but it's true. I'm glad. What about you? Dating anyone? Not seriously. Few dates here and there, but nothing that's stuck yet. She nodded. It's hard to trust people after something like this. Hard to believe someone when they say they're being honest. Yeah. We sat there for a moment in comfortable silence. I saw Travis last month, she said suddenly. He was at a conference in Chicago. I was there for work. We ended up in the same hotel lobby. Did you talk to him? No, but I watched him for a minute. He looked smaller somehow, less confident, like something fundamental had broken in him. Good. She smiled slightly. Yeah, good. She stood up. It was nice running into you. Take care of yourself. You too. She left. I sat there thinking about Travis, broken, diminished, living in whatever new city he'd fled to, trying to rebuild a reputation that would never fully recover. And I felt nothing about it. No satisfaction, no vindication, just complete indifference. He wasn't my problem anymore. November was approaching as I sat in my apartment on a Friday evening, thinking about the year that had passed since everything changed. My phone was quiet, no drama, no emergencies, no betrayals lurking, just silence and peace, and the rest of my life stretching out ahead of me. I'd been the villain in Jessica's story, the controlling husband who couldn't forgive one mistake, the vengeful ex who destroyed her reputation publicly. Let her tell it that way if it helped her sleep at night. I knew the truth. I'd been the foundation she'd stood on for 6 years, the invisible infrastructure that held her comfortable life together. And when she'd told me to deal with her ex being in her life, when she'd made it clear she valued him more than me, valued the affair more than our marriage, I'd done exactly what she asked. I dealt with it, by removing the foundation, by letting her comfortable world collapse, by making sure she understood, finally, what it felt like when the person you depended on disappeared. That wasn't revenge. That was just gravity doing what gravity does when support structures get removed. December came with unexpected finality. I was at my apartment on a Saturday morning when my phone rang. Richard Kepler. Andrew, got some news. What's up? Jessica's lawyer just filed a notice withdrawing all pending motions. They're done fighting. Everything's officially settled exactly as we negotiated. That's it? It's over? That's it. You're completely free. No outstanding issues. No future court dates. Nothing hanging over your head. The divorce is final and done. I sat down on my couch. Why now? Why stop fighting after all these months? My guess? She finally accepted that she wasn't going to win anything, that dragging it out was just costing her legal fees with no chance of changing the outcome. Sometimes people eventually realize they need to move on. Thanks for everything, Richard. You made my job easy by staying calm. Most people let emotion drive their decisions and make everything harder. You never did. We hung up. I sat there for a long moment, feeling the weight of true closure. It was really over. Not just legally, but emotionally. Practically. Completely. I pulled out my phone and texted the group chat with Lauren and Monica. It's officially final. All pending motions withdrawn. We're done. Lauren, congratulations. You earned this peace. Monica, closure is underrated. Celebrate tonight. That evening, Tom and I went out for dinner. He'd insisted on celebrating the official end of my divorce, even though I'd told him it wasn't a big deal. It is a big deal, he'd said. You survived something that destroys a lot of people. You stayed strategic. You protected yourself. You got free. That deserves recognition. Over steaks and beer, he asked. So what's next for you? Keep working. Focus on the new project. Maybe travel a bit. Haven't done that in years. What about dating seriously? Eventually, when I'm ready. Right now, I'm just enjoying the quiet. Fair enough. But when you are ready, promise me you won't become one of those bitter divorced guys who thinks every woman is like his ex. I won't. Jessica was Jessica. That doesn't mean everyone else is like her. Good. Because you deserve someone good. Someone who appreciates what you bring instead of taking it for granted. Thanks, Tom. That means a lot. That night, back at my apartment, I stood at the window looking out at the city lights one more time. My phone buzzed, text from an unknown number. I almost didn't open it, assumed it was spam or a wrong number. But something made me check. This is Travis. I know you probably don't want to hear from me, but I needed to say something. My jaw clenched. I almost deleted it without reading further. But curiosity won. What you did destroyed my life. My career is gone. My marriage ended. I had to move to a different state and start completely over. I lost everything. But you were right. I was a liar. I was running multiple affairs. I was using people. I was treating relationships like they were transactions where I could take what I wanted without giving anything real in return. I'm in therapy now, trying to figure out why I did what I did, trying to become someone different. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I don't deserve it. I'm not asking you to feel bad for me. You shouldn't. I just wanted you to know that the public exposure, as much as it destroyed me, was probably the only thing that could have made me stop, made me look at myself honestly. So thank you, in a weird way. I hope you find happiness. You earned it more than I ever did. I read it 3 times, then I deleted it without responding. Travis wasn't my problem. His redemption arc wasn't something I needed to be part of. His therapy and self-reflection were between him and his therapist. I'd done what I needed to do, exposed the truth, protected myself, got free. What he did with that information afterward was his own business. I set my phone down and went to bed. The next morning was Sunday, quiet, peaceful. I made coffee, sat by the window, watched the city wake up. My phone stayed quiet. No drama, no emergencies, no betrayals waiting to be discovered. Just calm. This was what the other side looked like. No more detective work, no more building evidence files, no more coordinating with other betrayed spouses, no more planning public confrontations. Just normal life. Simple, clean, mine. I thought about Jessica sometimes, wondered if she was happy in Indianapolis, wondered if she'd learned anything from what happened, wondered if she told people the truth about why her marriage ended, or if she'd constructed some narrative where she was the victim. It didn't matter. She was someone I used to know, someone who used to matter. Past tense. I thought about Travis occasionally, too, living in whatever city he'd fled to, working whatever job he'd found after his consulting business collapsed, trying to rebuild a reputation that would always be tainted by what happened in that ballroom. I felt nothing about it. No satisfaction, no vindication, just complete indifference. He wasn't my problem anymore. Neither of them were. I finished my coffee, rinsed the mug, decided to go for a run. The weather was cold but clear. Perfect December morning. As I ran through the quiet streets, I thought about the past year, about everything that had happened since that dinner party when Jessica told me to deal with her ex, about the evidence I'd gathered, the alliances I'd built, the plan I'd executed with precision, about the look on Jessica's face when she realized I'd known for weeks, that I'd been coordinating with Travis's wife, that her affair wasn't a secret she'd successfully kept but a trap she'd walked into. About Travis on stage, confident and charming one moment, then completely exposed the next with no way to explain or spin or charm his way out. About walking out of that ballroom feeling lighter than I had in months. People had opinions about what I'd done. Some thought I was justified. Some thought I'd gone too far. Some thought both things simultaneously. I'd learned to stop caring what other people thought, because they hadn't lived my experience, hadn't watched their spouse lie to their face for months, hadn't been told to deal with being betrayed in their own marriage. They hadn't earned the right to judge my response. The divorce had taken longer than I expected, cost more than I hoped, required more patience than I thought I had. But it was done now, the house sold, assets divided, all legal ties severed. I was free, not just legally, but emotionally. Free from pretending everything was fine when it wasn't, free from doing invisible labor that went unappreciated, free from being the foundation someone else stood on while they looked for something better, just free. As I ran back toward my apartment, breathing hard, muscles burning in the good way, I thought about what Tom had asked last night. What's next? Good question. Keep working. Keep building things. Keep following rules and procedures that made sense and didn't betray you when you weren't looking. Maybe travel. See places I'd always wanted to visit but never had time for when I was managing someone else's life along with my own. Maybe date seriously eventually, when I was ready, when I trusted my judgment again. But mostly just live. Simply. Honestly. Without drama. Without checking my spouse's mileage or credit card statements or location history. Without building evidence files. Without planning confrontations. Just normal, boring, peaceful life. It sounded perfect. Back at my apartment, I showered and made breakfast. Scrambled eggs, toast, more coffee. My phone buzzed. Text from Tom. Next weekend, some of us from work are going to that new brewery that opened downtown. You in? I replied, yeah. Sounds good. This was what the future looked like. Friends, work, simple plans, normal social activities, nothing complicated, nothing dramatic, just life moving forward at a manageable pace. I thought one last time about Jessica standing in our driveway as I drove away with the last of my things, asking where I was going. I'd told her I had an apartment across town, but really I'd been going toward this, toward peace, toward freedom, toward a life where I didn't have to wonder if the person I lived with was lying to me, toward simple, honest existence without betrayal lurking around every corner. She'd told me to deal with her ex, so I had, by documenting everything, by building alliances, by waiting for exactly the right moment, by making sure that when consequences arrived, they arrived publicly and permanently, by letting her comfortable world collapse while I walked away clean. You picked your ex, I'd told her that night, so I picked his wife. Perfect deal. And then I'd walked out without looking back. People called it revenge. I called it accountability. People called it cruel. I called it consequences. People called it excessive. I called it proportional. But none of that mattered now. Because I wasn't defined by what I'd done to Jessica and Travis. I was defined by what I'd done for myself. I'd refused to be a doormat. Refused to accept betrayal quietly. Refused to let people who'd hurt me walk away without facing reality. And then I'd moved on. That was the part people forgot when they debated whether I'd gone too far. I'd moved on. I wasn't consumed by bitterness, wasn't spending my days plotting further revenge, wasn't trying to hurt Jessica more or make Travis suffer additional consequences. I'd executed my plan, achieved my goals, then closed that chapter and started writing the next one. That's what justice looked like to me. Not infinite punishment, just proportional consequences followed by moving forward. I finished my breakfast, cleaned the kitchen, sat down with my laptop to review project plans for the new clinic expansion starting in January. Normal work, normal life. This was the other side. This was what winning looked like. Not Jessica suffering forever. Not Travis completely destroyed. Just me, free, building a new life on my own terms. That was enough. That was everything.